Welcome to week 2 of the 2023 Collegiate Chess League presented by SIG. I am your host today, Nemo, and I am joined by the wonderful Joe. Joe, are you excited for today?
I am so excited for this, Nemo. Last week was such an exciting matchup, but now we have an even more exciting matchup. So are you ready to get into the event format?
Absolutely. Let's refresh you with the event format because I know we are going to get a lot of new people coming in today. And also, I think, for me and for everybody else, we sometimes do forget what the tournament format might look like. But as a reminder, we've got 8 teams competing in a 7-week round robin where the top 6 teams will be competing in a single elimination playoff with the semifinals happening on November the 18th. As well as the finals on the 19th. And we also have prize money, everybody's favorite, with $5,000 for first and $2,500 for second, all presented by SIG. So, I know that we've talked about the event a little bit, but Joe, do you want to run us through what the match formats are going to look like?
Of course, let's dive right into the match format. So if you missed last week, the match format is pretty much the same as Pro Chess League. finals, or just Pro Chess League. We have a team event of 4v4. Everyone plays everyone, so that is a total of 16 games. Basically making it a best first to 8.5 wins. It's a 5+2 time control. You get 1 point for a win, half for a draw, and nothing if you lose. So same as standard traditional chess format. If it's tied 8-8, you go into a tiebreaker of 3+2 blitz for round 5. And then if it's still tied, you go into 1+2 bullet until the tie is broken. So let's dive into these week 2 matches, Nima.
Indeed. I'm very excited because we are going to be seeing Yale face off against Colombia. This is going to be one of our feature matches for today. This is match number 1. And for match number 2, we're also going to see the University of Chicago versus the University of Missouri. And I think it's really important to point out that we have a big variety of different types of schools in this tournament, right, Joe?
Yeah, we've got also some schools from Texas, as well as SLU versus Virginia as well this weekend, but we won't be covering that because there's 4 matches every week for Division 1. We're only covering the top 2 today and every week. So I'm really excited to see this Yale versus Columbia matchup because those are the 2 rivals in the Ivy League. And we also have 2 powerhouse teams, Chicago versus Missouri, kind of like a rivalry as well there, like Chicago versus St. Louis. I know Mizzou is not actually in St. Louis, but Missouri versus Illinois is a classic like Midwestern rival. So very exciting matches today. Did you want to go into these board assignments, Nemo?
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, you almost offended everybody in Missouri and St. Louis, but that's totally okay. So we are going to be seeing Yale play against Columbia for our very first match, and we actually watched Columbia play last week, so you might be already familiar with some of the, folks that are playing today, but we do have Grandmaster Brandon Jacobson on board 1 for Columbia over there with a rating of 2919. Also, we've got Nicolas Checa on Yale playing board 1 with a rating of 2866. So we do have grandmasters on both of our board 1s. Joe, we were chatting a little bit about board number 2 for Yale, Lyndon Lee. Do you want to explain to us his significance and why we should be paying him a little bit of attention today?
Well, all these players are pretty significant, but Lyndon Lee is particularly special because he is actually the older brother of Alice Lee, who a lot of us know. We've seen her play in the Pro Chess League. She is quickly becoming one of the most popular junior chess players. She's got so much talent and potential, and definitely you could tell that there's a lot of chess playing in that family for Lyndon to be playing on the Yale team.
For sure, a lot of chess playing in that family. And speaking of chess playing, we are going to be bringing you the games momentarily. So we do have the bird's eye view of all the games ready to go. If you guys have any predictions, if you guys think you know what the final score is going to be, please let us know, because I like to do this thing with Joe where we decide on a final match score and then whoever is closer gets 10 subs, right, Joe?
If you say so.
Okay, well, I am saying so. We do have game number 1 underway as we go into the London between Nico and Akash. So these are going to be really exciting games. What do you think the final score is going to be for this match?
I think this match is definitely going to be a lot closer than what we saw last week. I think Yale is still the favorite over Columbia since they are the higher seed. I believe they are the 6th seed. And for some context, Columbia is the 8th seed, so they're the lowest in the division. But this is going to be a close one. Obviously, both teams have really strong top boards, and we're seeing Checa playing right now. And he's actually a veteran in the league. He played last year for Yale. In fact, their last match, I think they lost to SLU in the playoffs last season. We actually just saw Columbia lose last week to SLU. So what's really interesting is this is actually Yale's first match of the season because they rescheduled their first week's match. I believe they're actually going to play it tomorrow against UT Dallas. But yeah, the first game underway. I think to answer your question, Nevo, the score prediction for me, I have to say, probably I'm gonna go with 9.5 for Yale to 6.5 for Columbia. What do you think?
Okay, so it's a lot closer than our predictions for last week, it sounds like. Because I think last week we were watching some of the games and it looked like one of the schools was doing really well. I believe it was Missouri versus Virginia. But I want to guess somewhere around there. I think I'm going to go with 10-6.
Okay.
Yeah, we're both really close. I mean, I feel like at this point it's almost a die roll, you know? It's that one lucky draw or that one unfortunate loss that's going to decide the difference between our own bet. So, yeah. If
Yeah,
chat wants to predict as well, go for it.
who do you guys think is a closer predictor, me or Nevo? I definitely was closer last week, but she could definitely beat me this week. So I don't know.
Yeah, you were closer last week, but you still didn't win. That's the key point.
I was off by a draw. Okay, so I don't think you could get any closer than that.
Well, hey, still not 100% right. So that's what we're going for. Joe only gets the 10 gifted subs if he guesses it exactly correct.
It's all or nothing.
Yeah, we run a very tight ship around here.
Yeah. Well, I think that Yale's the slight favorite because even though Brandon Jacobson's the highest rated player between these two teams, I think Yale will make up for it on their lower boards, especially if Columbia's bottom two boards can't produce like they did last week. But Yale is definitely a much more manageable team than SLU. So Columbia started off really tough, but I think Yale just has a better all-around team.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, over here we're watching. I believe this is
This is the top
Nico.
game
This
one.
is Nico
Yeah.
Checa, right? Yeah. Okay. I was going to say this is Nico Checa. Nico Checa is getting a very solid position right out of the opening. It's looking like White's choice of playing the Slav London type structure isn't really paying off for him as Black gets this very powerful attack going for the H2 pawn. So, you know, it's looking a little rough out here for White. But do remember, on round one, match one, you actually are seeing the biggest disparity in the ratings as we have board one for one school playing against board four of the other school.
Yeah.
Do you like this format, Joe?
This format's super exciting. I love that we start off with 1 versus 4 in the first round because as the match goes on into round 4, that's when you're gonna have the most hype matchup, board 1 versus board 1. That's gonna be GM versus GM in this case, Checa versus Jacobson. And I think it's funny to note that we got the chess.com username showing here. Speed Skater is Checa with the black pieces, and we can already see he's doing quite well. In fact, H2 just looks like it's completely hanging. This knight G4 move was threatening the fork on E3 as well as the pawn.
Sorry, go ahead.
That was
Cut you
it.
off there. I was going to ask you if you think that Nico Checa is a speed skater.
Well, his username certainly implies so. I
Right.
mean, he's a fast chess player. I wonder how fast he is on skates.
Yes. I mean, he's definitely looking very solid here as H2 is going to fall. We do have all of the other boards as well. So let's jump over to Brandon Jacobson. In
Definitely.
1 second over here. Before we do that, though, let's take a look at the overall health of the boards. I love this bird's eye view because you get to see how every single board is doing. And it looks like really only Nico Checa on Speed Skater is currently crushing. So far, it's still roughly equal. But we do have, our predictions. Oh, and as we see, a very nice exchange sacrifice coming in through Brandon Jacobson, board 1 for Columbia, the Grandmaster playing for Columbia.
This, I feel like, is kind of risky. How do you feel about giving this chance to like a board 4 player, right? Obviously, those pawns are pretty much ruined, and I know Jacobson has a lot of experience here in these exchange sacrifices, but maybe this gives White an opportunity. This is the board 4 for Yale. This would be a huge upset if you could try to hold this position.
Indeed. I don't know if White has anything to, be that worried about in this position. The fact that Black has given up an exchange does mean that White is up the tiniest sliver of material at this very current moment. Unfortunately, this pawn is going to fall. So depending on if you think that rooks are worth 5 or 4.5, how do you evaluate rooks?
Well, I mean, obviously it fluctuates, but I've never heard people say it's worth 4.5. Is that a thing?
Really? You've always
It's always 5.
said it's 5.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. I have this argument with my chat all the time about what the rook is valued.
Well, I mean, you also taught me last week about this Cypress Gambit thing, so I'm learning a lot more from you. And maybe you're learning it from your chat. I don't know.
Well, I would say not saying that my chat's not good at chess, but I'm usually the one teaching them. But this queen to d3 is definitely not a good move because of knight takes b2, and now the knight comes back and takes this pawn again. So instead of losing simply one pawn, Brandon's opponent's actually gonna lose both. So now, for a total of 3 pawns less, I think Black has actually a really good position.
Yeah, I kind of misplayed that with the queen moves there. But yeah, definitely, I think Brandon's very comfortable in this position. Probably going to take this bishop on g2, or actually just going to leave that knight there on e3 until needed.
Right. I mean, there's basically nothing you can do wrong in this position, especially when you are, a grandmaster. We tend to trust them to finish out their games. But let's take another look at the bird's eye view, see if we have anything, the games are exciting, but any upsets? Oh, and we might actually have one in Kevin versus Lyndon.
That one definitely caught my eye. We were talking about Lyndon and his chess playing family. I wonder if Alice is tuning in to cheer him on, but it looks like this is a really tough spot for him to be in with the black pieces.
Right. It's also probably a really tough spot to be in when your youngest sister is one of the best female players in the history of chess. But, I'm sure that doesn't get talked about at their family dinners at all, and every kid in the family is, equal. But when it comes to chess, both the brother and the sister are really, really strong. And Lyndon actually here is currently trying to come back. He is trying to fight back. However, I am not loving his position. His opponent is up only 1 pawn, but what a powerful pawn that is.
Yeah, that's a connected passer. And I mean, I was loving his bishop on d4, but his opponent's doing a great job of flushing it out of the center with the knight on e6. And that's actually just a better piece than the bishop, because in this kind of bishop versus knight endgame, you'll see that the bishop only controls the dark squares, whereas the knight can go between both light squares and dark squares. So really good endgame here for white.
Very, very good endgame here for white. Some very good insight by Joe. Yes, the bishop, sadly, only on the dark squares. Therefore, white can play all around the light squares, and there's nothing that can ever kick this knight out from c6, or if it decides to go to e6, or, just the light squares are completely lost. So not the best game thus far by his opponent over here, but, let's take another look at the bird's eye view. I'm really enjoying these bird's eye view because we get to see all of the different boards. You pick one this time.
Well, the last game that we haven't looked at yet, we definitely got to check in on Aristo Liu versus Maxime Yaskolko. It's actually the most even position out of the 4. And we actually just got a result. Looks like Checa starting off Yale strong with a win. So that's a point for them on the board. Not an upset at all. Definitely an expected result. Grandmaster versus board 4. But yeah, Maxime's game here, this is Firewoods. And I actually want to mention that he is the Yale captain. But also Aristo is the Columbia captain. So this is captain versus captain here in round 1.
And you know what's even better than seeing captain versus captain? We actually have their cameras for the very first time, I believe, in the Collegiate Chess League.
It's so exciting.
It is very exciting.
You
And
know, it's also
also, yeah, go ahead.
real quick. I wanted to ask you if you remember a couple streams ago, you actually played against Maxime. If that username Firewoods rings a bell.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, I think he won.
Oh, well, why would you bring that up?
I
Wow,
just
he beat me
I
at chess, and he also goes to Yale.
well, I mean, I wasn't even good enough to get paired against him. He would have beaten me for sure too. But I mean, maybe you could set up another match later.
That's okay. We still appreciate you, Mr. 200 points away from National Master co-commentator Joe.
It's actually 300. You did the
Okay,
same
sorry.
thing last.
I keep forgetting 300, but 200 sounds better, right? At least you're only
For
200
sure.
points away from
Yeah.
National Master. So once you get that, I'm sure the captain of Yale would be happy to play a match against you.
I think another fun fact is that Yale, largely thanks to Maxime, who's also part of our college ambassador program, he set up an Ivy League tournament last year. And I think Yale ended up winning, but also I think Harvard and Princeton didn't send a team, unfortunately. And they didn't send a team to the CCL either. So
Oh.
how do we get these Ivy League schools to participate more?
Well, you did mention there are 23 divisions in the Collegiate Chess League. So, even if their top grandmasters might be too busy doing a PhD in, I don't know, whatever is really popular right now, mathematics, anyways, I think we can get them to send at least some team since there are 23 divisions. So,
Yeah, there's a ton of divisions, and it's because schools can actually register multiple teams. And Yale actually has submitted, I think, at least 4 teams, and Columbia has like 3 teams. So Yale and Columbia are doing great. I think that Harvard has a really strong team if they wanted to. Another fun fact about Linden, who unfortunately just lost this first game, so Columbia's tied at 1-1. Oh, and Jacobson actually just won his game. So Columbia has a lead, which is I think their first lead in the
the
season
tournament
so far.
so far, yeah.
Yeah. So that's actually really exciting to see the bird's eye view. We have the 3 results. So it's all down to this last game. And it looks like Aristo is in some time pressure here.
Right. I do want to say that sounded a lot worse than it actually sounded because Columbia played, I believe, Missouri. It was last week. And they are one of the best chess schools in the nation. So, I think we could forgive them for that.
Yeah, it's only their second week. They got crushed by SLU.
Oh,
One
sorry,
of these-
SLU, yes.
They are in Missouri, so could have let you run with it. But
Yeah.
looking at this game, I think that this is the battle between the 2 captains. If Columbia wins, that's a pretty big 3-1 lead. But if Yale wins, they're going to tie it up. So, and actually, this is Yale's board 3. So if Columbia's top board can convert, it looks like they're doing really well. Or there's a mistake or a blunder.
A blunder, perhaps. I wouldn't call this quite a blunder. I think the position is still very, very dynamic. It's a very dynamic endgame, which I actually kind of love playing because you might think of an endgame and imagine the slowest chess, rook versus rook pawns. But here the pieces are jumping around. Knight to e4 might actually have been not a great move. I do want to go back there really quickly after we see the end of this game, but there was potentially a missed opportunity there. However, now it's looking a little dicier. With the time scramble, this could be anybody's game.
Yeah, and we see another kind of version of the game we saw between Kevin and Linden, where Aristo here trades off his bishop for that knight and gets this lovely knight on e4 on the light squares. So definitely favorable for black, but how is he going to convert?
By blundering a pawn,
Oh,
I would
no.
say. But his opponent blundering a pawn might be the answer to your question, Joe.
Yeah, that time pressure and maybe the pressure of being on camera for his first match of the season. Like Colombia, they got their first game jitters out of the way. They've already
Right.
been on broadcast. Like, sure, they got crushed, but this is Yale's first match of the season.
Whoa. We can't use terms like this around here.
Oh, I totally can.
All
Wait,
right,
I
Joe's
think
not shying away from calling out Colombia for getting
Arista's gonna
crushed.
try to scoop up the G pawn. I think they missed an opportunity to take on G5.
I don't think it matters too much. I think the knight is too good on e4
Oh,
that he doesn't
knights.
even need to.
Yeah, there's mate on
Right,
H1.
he's just going for checkmate. There's nothing. There
That's
is
GG.
nothing here that Firewoods could do to prevent rook to h1 with the checkmate.
Wow, so that's a demanding or commanding 3-1 lead for Colombia over their Ivy League rivals, who are the favorite in the match. I mean, Yale is expected to win, but after this first round, I'm actually getting a little nervous for our predictions.
Okay, I'm actually a little worried about this prediction too because I don't even remember who I was on in favor of. I think I was for Colombia. You were for Colombia, right? You said 9.5 for Colombia.
No, I think we're on tape, Nemo. They have it recorded. We can't
Okay.
just swap our answers.
Can't just drop our answers. How very unfortunate. Well, we are going to get the round one scores. And I am a little bit concerned about my prediction now. Once again, for anybody in chess.com chat or my chat, if you guys want to predict and let us know what you think the final match score is, please go ahead. We will be gifting you a sub. Thank you very much, chess.com, for putting that up. And we do have 1 point for Yale after round one and 3 points for Colombia, which honestly I might not have expected considering we did see Colombia lose quite poorly to SLU last week. But they are playing a fellow Ivy League. I'm sure there's a lot of rival. Is Colombia an Ivy League?
Yeah,
Yes?
it is.
Okay. Oh my gosh. I had a moment there. I was like, wait a minute. Sorry, I don't know my American schools as well as I should. But indeed, this was a very exciting first match, first round. So what do you think is going to happen in round two? We do have the bird's eye view, so let's take a look at round two lineup as we are going to be jumping into games really soon.
Yeah, round two. I mean, we only have one round down. Even if Colombia has this 3-1 lead, there's still plenty of chess left to be played. Round two is going to be beginning just shortly. We can look at some of these matchups here. We have Checa now playing against Kevin on game one. Kevin has a big win, an upset win over Lyndon Lee. So we'll see if he can do just as well against Checa, who has the white pieces.
Right. These are going to be some exciting games. There is a slight rating disparity. The rating that you do see on the screen is their chess.com blitz rating. I believe Joe might have guided us through that beforehand as well, but that is not their official FIDE ratings. However, that is not stopping us from seeing some really, really crazy games as we once again do have player cameras.
Yeah,
over
2866 would be pretty good FIDE for Checa or for anyone for that matter.
Right.
But yeah, this is a chess.com blitz rating. Checa, he's got the only point for Yale so far. And if they're going to get a comeback, they're going to rely on him for sure. So this is kind of like a really important point. I think that this is a board 3 match for Checa. And as board 1, you're going to play the stronger and stronger players. So if he's still playing one of the bottom boards from Colombia, I'm going to say this is almost like a must win for him.
I would also say that I think he doesn't need to be told that this is a must win. He has found knight to g5 with the double exclamation mark coming in from chess.com. And the reason that knight to g5 is not simply a free knight for black is because after bishop takes g5, we do have bishop takes b7.
Oh, that's
Amongst
beautiful.
many other things that can happen in this position, but the knight on c3 is also hanging for sure, given, you know, black just played knight takes c3, but there's a lot going on here, and knight to e4 is probably not the answer to knight g5, unfortunately, because after bishop takes e4, you are still threatening to take on h7 as well as b7. So after bishop takes e4, you have queen takes e4, threatening checkmate once again, as well as the rook on a8. I think knight to g5 is an absolutely beautiful discovered attack. And a discovered attack you might not think of because this is also an in-between move.
Oh my
considering
gosh.
that the knight on c3 was hanging. So, I mean, Checa's grandmaster skills are coming through.
Checa's move checked all the boxes off that brilliant move. I mean, it's doing everything. It's like every tactic in one move. Is this like some sort of grandmaster wizardry like opening prep that he has? Like he's only used 2 seconds off his clock.
I was just going to say, if you were 700 points higher rated, I might have thought I was commentating with Danya right there with that amazing pun. Huge shout out to Joe for bringing out the puns so early in the morning. But after knight takes c3, I think this is simply just a poor move by Penguin Wizard. I think f5 here, defending the knight, was his best choice. And I think this is probably still theory. I am not that familiar with these you know what, I don't want to say it is or it is not theory. They did start out with like b6 g3 structures, so who knows what's going on there. But I would say that Checa is completely crushing it in this game.
I love that we got Kevin's username Penguin Wizard. I mean, people love the Penguin usernames.
For sure.
Obviously another Ivy League player from the past, Andrew Tang, also known as the Penguin GM.
Indeed. One of the fastest chess players in the world.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to be able to say that.
He used to play in the CCL, but now he is working full-time for SIG, actually, our sponsor of today's show.
Yes, indeed. If you play good chess, you too might land a very cool spot at SIG. But we do have bird's eye view here. It does look like Checa is going to take this game away. But so far, the other games have looked pretty solid.
Yeah, they're all pretty even so far. Obviously, we got Lyndon Lee on board 2 for Yale, trying to get their first point, bounce back win after losing to Kevin in the first round. So now he's playing against the board 4, Akash. So this is pretty important for him to try to get back on track if the Yale team's going to have a comeback. But also we have Maxime playing against Jacobson. So that's a big game for Columbia. Brandon's going to try to perform again in the second round to like kind of build onto their lead, right? They have this 2-point lead. If they can hold on to that, that's an easy dub for them.
Indeed. A lot of very exciting chess coming in today, with, Colombia having a pretty good first round, but anything can still happen, right?
Of course. Like, I'm still thinking Yale's going to win, but
even after the 3-1 round 1?
Yeah, I'm not too worried. Like, it's just round 1. I mean, that's Yale's got to wake up, right? They're still getting used to the broadcast. This is their first match of the season. Like, I still have confidence that they can make the comeback. So don't mark it over just yet.
Indeed. Okay, you know what? I like your attitude to this. For this, I really do. I do think Checa's game is probably the most exciting right now, but he's kind of completely crushing. So, do you have another game you would like to take a look at?
Yeah, there's so many. I'm really excited for once the clocks start winding down, we'll see some more tactics. But I'm trying to maybe we could look at Lyndon's game and see if Lyndon can get the wheels moving with the white pieces here against Akash.
Indeed. Okay, so Brandon coming in here. Lyndon.
Sorry.
I heard Brandon for some reason. I apologize.
The same syllable. But yeah, we got the
really
player
the same
cams.
syllable.
So you see the resemblance between Lyndon and Alice?
I kind of do.
I wonder if Alice is going to go to an Ivy League school too.
I think chances are quite high she will. I will take the over on that.
Well, which Ivy though? You think she'll go to Yale like her brother, or you think she's gonna switch it up?
I'm really not sure. I mean, she still has so many years away, right? I mean, she's only 14, 13.
Okay, well, she could go to school early. Like, there was a chess club member at my school who started at 14. Isn't that crazy?
They started at the
Yeah.
school.
Some
Oh,
some people might know him. He's international master Luke Harmon Volati, one of the pride and joys of the UCLA Chess Club.
wow. Huge congratulations to him starting school at 14. I mean, I don't even necessarily know if I like got to relive my life, I would choose to go into school at 14, you know? Like I did a few years of college and I decided that maybe college is not the best for everyone. It's not the most suitable for every single person out there. At least, you know, and also on top of that, I did go to a pretty demanding school. Not quite as demanding as an Ivy League, but I do very clearly remember I was hanging out with my roommate and he's doing, well, now he's doing his master's in physics, but back then he was doing his undergraduate in physics. And there was this 13-year-old that walked by one time with his mom and waved at us. And I was like, he was like, oh yeah, that's my classmate. I was like, that, he looks like 11. He's like, yeah, I think he's 13. I think he turned 13 last week. And I was there like, all right, so, you know, why am I in school?
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, looking back at Lyndon's position, like it's not amazing, but also he's got quite the time advantage though against Akash. So it's still anyone's game. How do
Certainly.
you feel about it?
I think this is very equal. Just flat out. I think point blank, this game should result in a draw unless somebody's time usage goes a little bit haywire, I would say.
I think that's totally fair. Obviously, they both have both rooks, both bishops. Both sides have back rank issues. I think this bishop on b7 is pretty good. Obviously, the rooks on the c file are in tension. Um, like I would love to play like rook d7 at some point, but I don't think it's available.
I don't think we need to be that worried about rook to d7 here by white. I mean, white is definitely thinking about it, but yeah, you had to get rid of this rook on c1 first. So now after taking the bishop defense against d7, so black once again needs to find, sorry, white once again needs to find a way to somehow break through. And maybe, you know, rook c1 is that idea where you can go rook c7. Rooks on the 7th are always really strong, but even if you do get there, as long as you don't blunder mate in 1, you know, don't, well, not even mate in 1, but don't blunder anything back rank, you can play something like rook c6, swapping off rooks, because now there is mate in 1 for
Mm.
black. So there's
Maiden,
always tactics and tricks here, sorry.
I see we do have a results. Checa has converted that early advantage against Kevin. So Kevin on board 3 for Colombia gets his first loss of the match. Checa getting a point back for Yale. So they're only down by 1 now. It's 2-3. There's still 3 games left in the second round.
Indeed. Let's take a quick look at the bird's eye view over here, so we can also highlight some of the other games going on. I do believe that Lyndon is in a little bit of trouble in this end game, but we'll go back to it as we see Aristo um,
Ooh.
just go from completely winning to not completely winning. In fact, slightly worse. So let's take a quick look at that game and see what happened there. Because we love those big eval bar drops, right?
Yeah, what was the move?
What was the move? So let's go back one or two moves over here. So right now, Black's queen is stuck on a1. After bishop to a3, it does appear that the main idea here is to actually not go after the queen, but to play maybe knight to g4 and go for a checkmate. Because how does black stop this checkmate?
That's a fantastic question. The computer says queen b1.
Okay, well, you know, the computer says queen b1. You're probably doing quite well here as white. But I think
Yeah.
more realistically, we probably have g6. And after
Uh-huh.
h takes, once again, this bishop is pinned. Sorry, pinning this
Oh
pawn on
my goodness.
f7. So now you have queen takes g6, which is probably what Aristo might have missed when it comes to his tactical calculation. So instead, after, okay, this queen takes b2 while you're threatening to checkmate your opponent. I mean, I understand that Aristo might be happy being up an exchange, but as viewers, we're not happy that he missed mate at 9.
How dare he miss mate 9 with less
How
than 30
dare
seconds
he
on
miss mate at 9? Yeah. Doesn't
But this
he
is
know?
still, look at his 2 bishops, though. They're completely just on this open diagonal pointing towards the king. The bishop pair is definitely much better than the rook, especially when the rook is on a8 and not involved. Like, do you even defend f7 at all?
I mean, I don't think you have a way of defending f7 with your rook, right? There's
Exactly.
a bishop just looking straight at it. But to his opponents, to Jorn's defense, it's probably not that easy actually for Aristo to win this position.
Yeah, especially with that time disadvantage. Like, Jorn has a ton of time, but unfortunately, the position is just so much better for Risto. I think with the 2-second increment, he should be able to convert this.
Yeah, especially now that c6 is hanging.
Oh, you want to take another look at the bird's eye view? We have another
Let's do it.
result. We've got Brandon Jacobson converting against Maxime, so he adds up more time. Looks like Liu Aristo just won his game, but oh my god, the game's all just finished as soon as we went to the
Every
view.
game is finished.
I was
Single
gonna
game
look
is
at
finished.
Linden somehow converted that position, so it was looking pretty drawn. But I had faith in Linden all the way. He bounces back after losing the first round.
Indeed.
So what's that? Put the match score at. I'm trying to do some fast math right now. Do we have?
I
The
believe
scoreboard?
it's actually at the bottom of the screen. I believe it is 3-5.
Oh, amazing!
Amazing.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Well,
Thank you
so they
very
tied
much,
that.
producers.
They tied that round 2-2. So Colombia holds on to their 2-point lead, but I think this is some momentum in Yale's direction, right? Like, they lose the first round, they tie the second round, and we're gonna go into a break before the third round, but they have some momentum now.
They do have that momentum. They are starting off down 2 points. However, you never know what can happen in these type of really close matches. So I want everybody to stay on the edge of their seats. And also remember, if you are looking to play some chess and if you are looking to put your bullet skills to test, you should compete in the Community Bullet Brawl Arena every Sunday, which is tomorrow, and you have the chance of winning a diamond membership. Anybody is eligible to throw their hat in the ring and prove their speed chess prowess like these folks from the Ivy League colleges, and all you have to do is join the community club on chess.com and register for the arena. You can use CBB in chat for all the details. That is Command CBB. So on that note, we are going to take a very quick break as we, give these players a moment to rest and see who is going to come back, who might take the lead in round 3.
Love playing chess variants? Or just looking for something new? Join us for the Variants Community Series. Every 2 months, we'll be featuring a different variant in a series of events and competitions. Learn a new variant and compete against other players for prize money, or just play for fun. Look for community arenas, streamer arenas, and championship events. 6 weekly arena tournaments held every Thursday will be followed by a championship event with cash prizes, including a $1,000 first place prize. The third and final weekly arenas will be streamer arenas, featuring gifted subs as prizes. Win any of these events to qualify for the championship. The Variance Community Series kicks off on September 7th with King of the Hill, where the first to occupy the center wins the game. But getting checkmated still loses. And join the Variance Club today to learn more about upcoming events, how to participate, and much, much more. See you in the arena on chess.com.
Your subscription makes shows like this possible, which is why our Twitch subscribers will never see ads on chess.com. Connect your chess.com account and Twitch account at go.chess.com/connectaccounts, and bang, boom, voila, you're done. 100% ad-free bliss forevermore. Whether you're following our events on site or on stream, type the command connect in the chat, and thank you for helping bring these shows to life.
Welcome back to the Collegiate Chess League presented to you by SIG. If you are tuning in, let's quickly catch you up on what's happened so far in today's match. Joe, have the games been exciting?
The games have been very exciting. In fact, I think the first round in particular has caught us off guard a little bit. We predicted that Yale would be the favorite to win. And Colombia actually surprised us. They won that first round 3-1, and they've held on to their lead. They're up by 2 right now, going into the second half of this match. So we have the board, or the round 3 matchups coming up here. We see Checa is now playing against Aristo Liu, so that's a big one. And we have Lyndon Lee versus Brandon Jacobson. Those are going to be the top 2 boards to keep an eye out for. Those are the titled players versus the titled players. Who do you think is going to win?
Between Checa and Brandon, I actually think that I have enjoyed Checa's chess substantially more from what I have seen thus far. That is not to say that I don't think Brandon's a very good chess player, but Checa's knight to g5 earlier was absolutely beautiful. Checa has been playing wonderful chess today, and Brandon has looked a little shaky playing against St. Louis last week, and also today, you know, not saying that he hasn't been playing good chess, but I am a big fan of flashy chess.
Well, Brandon did have that exchange sacrifice in that first game.
He
so
did.
They're both 2 for 2. And I'm really looking forward to see how they're going to do in their matchup against each other in round 4. But they got to get through this third round first. And we have Checa's game started here against Aristo Liu, who's also been doing pretty well, actually. Who Who do you have in this game?
I think I just have to go for Checa. I mean, there's just he looks like he knows what he's doing. As we are actually heading into this exchange French, which I am not a fan of for white. I think black gets plenty of play here, but it's still very, very early on. What are your predictions for this match?
Obviously, Checa's the favorite, but I think Aristo's been playing pretty well. He's been getting those points for the Colombia team, and that's a huge part of why they're up by 2. So if he could pull off an upset win here, especially with the white pieces against Checa, that'd be huge, and I think might be really hard for Yale to come back at that point.
I hear you. I definitely hear you. As we're going into round number 3 between Colombia and Yale, white does have this weaker pawn now on d4. So this is looking like it's going to be a positional game, which we can appreciate as much as more tactical games. Nothing wrong with that.
Checa takes on c3, and that helps Aristo actually solidify that pawn that you were mentioning. Now he's got his pawns connected. Why do you think Checa gave up the bishop like that?
Honestly, I have no idea, but I bet he thinks that he can create plenty of play in the middle, perhaps later with moves like c5. But at the same time, he is making white spend 1 move, so now he gets 1 more tempo because white had to capture back with b takes c3.
And he follows that up with bishop to e6, just trading off that bishop on b3, which is boxing out the knight on b6, which is not a traditional place to put the knight. Do you think that Checa is going to be able to get that knight back into the game, maybe like hopping into the center?
Perhaps he can. I mean, it's so early on in the game. I believe anything can still happen here. So, we can also go back to the bird's eye view and take a look at some of the other games that we have today. We got some slow chess going on here by some of the strongest players. We do have 2 grandmasters. They're not playing against each other just yet, but we are seeing a grandmaster versus a FIDE master, as well as a grandmaster against a national master. Any particular game you want to take a look at?
Yeah, let's dive into Lyndon's game against Brandon Jacobson.
All right. I think this is a pretty good time to be jumping in as well, as Brandon Jacobson's eval bar is ticking up, mostly because after queen to e7, we can see that black's position is a little bit more passive here. So white has a very comfortable position to play. I think his plans here are very simple. Move that rook into the center, potentially attack the d6 pawn. I think black here basically has to play d5, otherwise this pawn on d6 is going to be lost at some point.
Yeah, and what's also really interesting about Alice, not to talk about her too much, but I did want to kind of mention there's actually another matchup against an Ivy League school, but it's not in the Collegiate Chess League. It's actually going to be Chess Kid versus Harvard.
Chess Kid versus Harvard. Wow.
Yeah.
How did you guys get that set up?
Well, I think there are some former Chess Kid players now on the Harvard team. I think they have Jennifer Yu, and I think their chess club president is a FIDE master.
Okay.
But it's going to be Alice Lee versus Tani. We all know and love Tani, right?
Right. I love Tani. Tani is amazing.
Yeah, so that's actually something I can kind of hint at, which is funny because we have Lyndon playing against Brandon Jacobson, Ivy League grandmaster, and his sister's going to have to play against like Jennifer Yu, another Ivy woman grandmaster. So it's kind of funny these Lee siblings they've got their work cut out for them.
Indeed. I mean, I think that's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So look at Joe over here hinting at more chess.com content just for you. I do think that Brandon's position is looking really good. Remember when I said he had to play d5 at some point?
He never did
when
it.
Lyndon had to play d5. He never played d5, and now there is a very painful backwards pawn on d6. And also the knight is coming to d5 next move because this knight on f6 is pinned with this rook on d8. So it's looking a little bit rough here for Lyndon, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, Brandon is doing his thing. So, you're saying Brandon maybe not playing the most inspired, didn't do very well last week, but I think this
Uh-huh.
week he's definitely more on top of it and he's in tuned. I think he's ready to play.
Yeah, I think he's a little warmed up. Definitely feeling more warmed up.
Do you want to take another look back at the bird's eye view? We could maybe look at some of the lower boards that we haven't had a chance to look at yet.
Yeah, let's do it. We've got Kevin facing off against Jorn over there, and we've got Maxime against Akash. Actually, I'm down to look at Maxime's game. It looks like he might not be doing the best in this position.
I think Akash as board 4 for Colombia has definitely stepped up his game from last week. Maxime as team captain for Yale, I think needs to start improving that position if his team's going to have a chance at a comeback. But Akash has been killing it. So why is his position so favorable?
Well, Black's position is quite decent here. I mean, there is not much that White can do for the attack, and he's got some rooks that are very, very active. On top of that, notice how all of White's pieces are sort of more on the king side, where he has that attack, that lack of attack, I should say. In this case, if bishop takes a4, for example, after rook takes, there are going to be threats of knight to b3, and if White counters that with, for example, queen to d3, nothing is stopping Black from simply marching his rook back to e4, controlling the center, moving the knight over to c4, thinking about these knight takes a3 sacrifices, bring that queen over. I mean, I feel like Black's position might just play itself.
Well, that certainly looks like it when you point out all these moves. And I wanted to mention this is a classic opposite side castles where it's like the first person that can start the attack has a lot of the initiative. And Kumar's pieces are just naturally going to be better placed in this attack. But there's still some chances for Maxime. Like he's got the rook lifted. I think rook to g3. There's some potential happening there. And the game's just far from over. Like they both have 2 minutes left on the clock. So plenty of chess left to be played.
Plenty of chess left to be played, for sure. I think that's a very good way of putting it. He does play rook e4. I mean, Kumar is playing very well.
Do you want to take another look at the bird's eye view? I think we have one last game that we haven't looked at. Game number 4 between Jorn, the 4th board for Yale, and Kevin, board 3 for Colombia.
Yeah, this reminds me of a very famous game, actually. I can't remember the players right now, but it's looking like White is throwing everything he has into this attack while being down a knight, which is probably how he got this attack in the first place. But we have to see now if it pays off.
Is it possible we could go back and see where the knight was given up? Because this king looks really close to dead, but the eval bar says it's even, despite being down. Ooh, it's an Alpin.
Yeah, it's an Alapin. And let's see where the knight sacrifice happened, actually. I'm equally as curious as Joe. So knight to d2, knight to e5, h3.
Whoa.
Oh, he sacrificed on f7 a few moves ago. Okay.
I love it.
I love this. Queen takes e6, king f8, keeping that king in the center with your queen cutting off g8. That's a terrible arrow, my apologies. And now after a knight to f6, bishop takes f6. The eval bar does say this is equal because, well, Black really only has one move here with g takes f6. So after queen takes, king to g8, White is going to have to go for rook to e4 and rook to g4. But Black will defend. So this is going to be a fight.
Yeah, it looks like Black has its defense, but who would you rather have? Like, look at the clock situation. I think White, even though down a piece, is having all the fun here with the attack. And that time pressure might come in clutch for Jorn here.
I would definitely say that playing this position as Black is probably harder in Blitz, but I would rather take this position as Black in Classical. I think it's very, very difficult to defend in blitz, but in classical it won't be a problem at all. And if you swap off every piece in this position and just stay going to the endgame being up a bishop, you're probably going to be winning this as black. But with 31 seconds on the clock, that is much, much easier said than done.
And it looks like Kevin did not play your move of taking the bishop back right away, instead playing rook to e8. How do you feel about this continuation?
I think it makes a lot of sense for a human. For a little bit of context, I think White's best move here is bishop to d8, and I'm not sure that White is going to be able to find that. It's a very funny move because queen takes e8 is obviously checkmate, so now black has to do something. Right, to defend against this, and if you actually take this queen, this is winning for White because you take this bishop with a check first. But after bishop d8, there is also, if rook takes d8, there's rook to f3 check, and there's checkmate as well.
Wow.
So, yeah, there's a lot to think about in this position.
There's bishop f4? No, then there's queen f.
Bishop f4, queen f5. Yeah, there's just, it's a lot of tactics, and, you know, it's a hard position to play, but unfortunately, White did not find bishop to d8. I don't blame him at all for not finding bishop to d8. Yeah. And after g takes f6, queen takes, we're back to more or less the position that we had discussed previously.
We got to take a look at the bird's eye view because there's so much action happening on all the other boards. I think Brandon just won his game with White, adding on to Colombia's lead. They're up to 3 points now. But also this top game looks like it's about to wrap up any second.
Yeah, indeed. Nico has just won his game against Aristo.
And that leaves us with game 3 about to wrap up too. And that looks great for Akash.
It certainly does. Remember when I said he has a very strong attack?
Yes. How's it turned out for him?
It seemed to turn out well. After queen to c2, this is, you know, I don't actually think it's... Okay, here we go.
Whoa. You can queen now.
Yeah, you can queen now.
Wait, but the eval before that check said it was even, so I'm confused how you could have stopped that.
I think the eval bar was lying to you, Joe.
It's gaslighting me.
I don't think. Yeah, I think that eval bar was gaslighting you.
Oh my!
This
how
is
could
completely winning for black. Yeah, I don't know why the eval bar showed equal there for a moment. There was no part of this last part that was equal.
Well, holy smokes, Akash with that win. I mean, that's almost a 500 rating point difference. Like, Akash is crushing it for this Colombia team, and they're about to destroy our predictions.
I feel like we haven't seen that many upsets in this event so far.
If you're not counting the Colombia upsets against, like, I mean, that was an upset right there. Any Akash win or any Kevin win is essentially an upset, and the Colombia boards 3 and 4 have been coming a clutch today.
I think our predictions have been completely thrown off. I think we're going to be so far off. What was yours? 9.5 to 5.5?
To 6.5. But yours was 10 to 6.
Yeah. So mine was 10 to 6. Yeah, so I've
closer.
already lost. Yeah, well, mine's not happening anymore, so it's fine.
I'm going to count that as a 2 for 2 for me in our predictions so far. So
sure. I mean, White's actually winning here, funnily enough. He is up 4 pawns against the queen and bishop, and queen and bishop is actually not the best combination because the bishop travels on the same squares as the queen does. So actually queen and knight is a much better combo than queen bishop. So White's actually winning, essentially.
Yeah, we'll see how to convert this. It's not so simple. But I saw Kevin shake his head. You could see he's definitely stressed, even though he's got the piece, but those pawns are just menacing.
Indeed. I think to answer your question of how you convert, this is... It might not be that easy to convert, but at least you know as White you have no shot of losing.
Yeah, look at how exposed this king is. All of these checks are going to come in. Obviously, f2 is hanging, but the queen, after these checks, defends it, pushes a pawn. Oh, and that's a fork. That's going to do it.
That's a fork. Yes. Losing the bishop is definitely going to cost black this game.
So,
But it was already really hard to defend, so.
Kevin goes down. That might be the first point for Jordan. I'm not sure. But that's a crucial point if Yale's going to have any chance in this fourth round for a comeback.
Indeed. That is the end of round 3, guys. That is the end of round 3. Wow. We are going to see the scores here very quickly, as we have 5 points for Yale and 7 points for Columbia. Columbia still hanging on to their 2-point lead, but who do you think looks better at this very moment?
Well, obviously, Columbia's been looking good, but these last 2 rounds have been a draw for both these teams. Columbia's only holding on to that initial lead from the first round. So going into the fourth round, the Yale players are higher rated, but the Columbia players have been playing better. So I think the rating at some point just doesn't matter, and the only thing that matters is the result. But that being said, we still have 4 games coming up next, and that's going to determine who wins this match between the Ivies.
Indeed. I mean, it has been really exciting so far. I've personally enjoyed all the games. I don't know who is going to come back from this, but Yale is down 2 points, which does mean that they have to essentially crush Columbia in this round to be able to pull off a comeback. So I don't know if that is going to happen, but 5-7, it's a very tight match. And I think this is the tightest match we've seen so far at the Collegiate Chess League, at least on broadcast.
For sure. I mean, some of the lower divisions had overtime, but this match, if Yale can come back 3-1 in this round, they will force an overtime round, which would be the first for our broadcast. So I am actually kind of hoping for that. That would be very exciting.
Indeed. All right. Well, now we are going to get the 2 grandmasters facing off. So now we have come full circle. Everybody has played each other once, apart from the respective boards. So now board 1's playing board 1, board 2's playing board 2, and so on. Wow, and they're going off into the King's Indian defense. One of Hikaru's favorites, might I add.
You think these players are inspired by Hikaru's play?
I would definitely say Brandon Jacobson is. Brandon Jacobson streams regularly, right?
I mean, I think he streamed more in the past.
Okay. I'm sure Columbia's taking up a lot of his time.
Yeah, actually, I think Brandon wasn't even sure if he was going to play in the CCL until pretty last minute. So, fun fact, if Brandon didn't register, then the 8th team in Division 1 would actually be UCLA.
Oh. So Brandon single-handedly stopped UCLA from playing.
Yeah, but I think that UCLA is probably pretty happy about it because now they're like a top team in Division 2 and they're not going to get crushed every week. But like on the other hand, the Columbia team, even though they're the 8th seed, they get to play against the top talent. They get to get their matches broadcasted live here on the main chess stage. And they're actually doing really well. They're up by 2 against Yale, who like we all had predicted Yale would be the favorites to win, and Columbia's proving us wrong right now. So they got 4 games left to convert this and get their first win of the season.
Right. What was the score for last week between SLU and Columbia? Not that I want to, reopen any wounds, but might you remind the chat?
So we saw that I believe it was a 13.5 to 2.5 win for SLU. So Columbia might triple their score from last week, or more than that if they can get the win.
Yes. Last week it was a little tough for Columbia, but this week it's looking like they are making a slight comeback. So I am very excited to see that. I am all for the underdogs coming back. I'm always supporting the team that looks like they might not be doing as well, but I think they have had a very strong showing here.
I think you asked me earlier about the format of the match where you save board 1 versus board 1 for last. And I think it's really important to note that because of these scores so far, all the pressure is on Yale to win. So how do you think that changes Brandon's style Like, he doesn't have to play for the win. He could play for a draw and try to rely on his lower boards to get the job done, or he could just straight up go for the win and put the victory like in his own hands as the top board for his team.
I think when you're playing board one, and playing the other board one, I should specify, and you're playing black, I think your first thought is that you probably just want to play safe, solid chess, right? You don't want to do anything. Okay. I was going to say, you don't want to do anything that might risk your team's win. And in this case, it's looking like Checa is actually the one that feels the pressure to go for that win with the white pieces. So Brandon is probably pretty happy with this. Checa is definitely pushing a little bit. This is a very interesting sacrifice. He just, gave up a knight for 2 pawns, and
Oh my goodness.
Brandon is playing very solid. Very solid.
This is some grandmaster chess right now. We see Checa sacking a piece for 2 pawns. He gets 2 connected passers, and he's got tempo on the rook, and Brandon just plays out knight to a6, double exclam, sacking the rook on f8, and Checa doesn't even want it.
Right, because if Checa takes this after bishop takes f8, now the dark square bishop is extremely strong and stops the pawns from being able to push forward, basically ever, because you're once again lacking that dark squared piece to help you on the dark squares. I feel like we've had a lot of very positional chess this day, and I think the grandmasters are showcasing to us how you should play after you sacrifice material. Sometimes it's not the best to try to get it back immediately because your entire plan is going to be ruined if you lose your dark square bishop. He needs the dark squares to push up those passed pawns.
That's a really good insight, and it looks like Brandon notices that as well, puts the queen on e7 to try to cover those dark squares, and Checa really quickly follows up with rook to b6. The computer wasn't the biggest fan of that.
Indeed. Rook to b6 looks powerful. You might be threatening to play d6, but I think the computer here wanted to play d6 immediately.
That's a really interesting line. Do you know, obviously it's a gambit, but it also frees up that d5 square. What's the point of d6 so early?
I believe after queen takes e6, it just wants to simply take on f5, and after taking on f5, park that knight on d5, because if you take on d6, you actually get your queen trapped. So instead of playing rook to b6 to a d6, you can just tactically make d6 work.
Wow.
Which is not very human, but it is a possibility.
Yeah, we can't fault Checa for missing that. But this game is still super exciting. I love how both players are playing it so far. This is definitely the top match, and Brandon's playing so well on the clock. He's up 2 minutes over Checa, so that could be a huge role later.
Yeah. Here he finally does play. E takes f5. It looks like, Checa is playing basically as good as the computer. At least his ideas are there. And I think Brandon's actually getting into a very uncomfortable position, especially as this is a blitz game. Uncomfortable positions can lead to more problems because you don't have as much time to think about your defense. And I would definitely say that defending is a lot harder than attacking when it comes to blitz. Would you agree with that, Joe?
Definitely, especially in the time pressure. But Brandon's done really well on the clock. He's given him. Oh my gosh, we have an exchange sacrifice from Checa.
Okay, I don't know about that one. Yeah, I don't know about that one. I mean, now you're down an entire rook. I think being down an entire rook is a lot more committal than being down a piece.
Yeah, and also
like it feels so much more, Like I'm okay being down a knight, but being down a rook, in my mind, I'm always like, this is game over.
Well,
so
Eval still says it's only 1 point advantage for black, and I think Brandon, the point about being down a rook is that Brandon could always give a rook back if he wanted to. But Checa did it just so that he could push this pawn to c5, and it's immediately being blockaded. Do you think Brandon's going to give up the rook on c5?
I don't think so, because I actually think Checa's main idea with that was playing bishop to b5 and then being able to go for the d7 bishop because the queen can't take because of knight to f6 after. So here, there's no rook takes c5 because you simply have bishop takes c5 followed by bishop takes d7. But yeah, he does play bishop b5, and now it's going to be really interesting to see what black does. I think you have to move the bishop out. I think it's a lot worse to lose a whole bishop than to lose just the exchange. Once again, black is up material, so he can afford to give some back. He definitely can.
Yeah, I was thinking,
but maybe, not too much. Don't give too much back.
Maybe after the rook takes on c5, you could sack the exchange back on d5, but your line's definitely much better. But I wanted to look at the rest of the boards. We've only been looking at this top game. Obviously, it takes a team to win, and Colombia only needs 1.5 points to win this entire match. So they're looking actually really good on the bottom two boards. If we wanted to look at that bird's eye view.
Let's take a look at bird's eye view.
Look at those eval bars for games 3 and 4. That is crazy for white.
Just as we are leaving Brandon's game, we can see that Nico has basically lost both of his passed pawns. So it does mean that Brandon's simply going to be going into this endgame being up a pawn with much better position, and the knight on d5 is actually going to hang. So it's looking a little rough there for Nico. But Kevin, wow.
Oh my God, Nemo, we might see a sweep.
We might be seeing a sweep. Kevin and Akash are both absolutely crushing it for Team Colombia. And Aristo is also slightly better. I mean, he is up a pawn in an endgame,
okay.
So, you know, I don't want to say
now.
that is completely winning for him, but he is the one pushing for that win. And also, if his teammates win, there is no need for him to push for anything. So it's looking very, very good for Colombia right now.
Yeah, I don't think Yale's going to come back. I don't even think they're going to get any points in this round.
Oof. Wow, that's a harsh one. Any particular game you want to take a look at?
Well, I mean, we could dive into Maxime versus Kevin and see how this is looking. Obviously, Kevin's doing well. How do you think he's gonna convert this one out?
I think it's more a question of how does he not convert this one out. Black's position is very dubious. The king is on h8 facing this bishop on c3. I mean, this is looking very rough. His pawn hasn't even controlled the center yet. So, you know, I like bishop e6 personally. I think bishop to e6 is very strong here.
Yeah, that's one way to do it. And we do have some results. Nico going down to Brandon. Amazing performance by Brandon this week. And we have Akash winning on board 4 for Colombia. So, I don't know. What do you want to look at? I feel like that's pretty much the game, right? Like the match is over. We've got these last 2 games to wrap up here. But what an astonishing upset win for this Colombia team.
I really like Kevin's game, actually. He played knight to e6 instead of bishop to e6, which is not as strong because you actually want to take with the knight on e6 so you get that fork in. But this is also very decent. I mean, the king is sort of just... it kind of has to be on g7 to defend f6, and you don't really want to be using your king to defend anything. So, yeah, it's just looking a little bit unfortunate here for black.
And he's about to run out of time. He's got 5 seconds to make a move here.
Right.
He doubles, but now I think Kevin just plays rook a to e1, which is exactly what he does, putting pressure on e7, which would come with a fork against the king and the queen. So rook f7 defends that. What's the knockout?
Ooh. Still not quite a knockout, but I was just going to say a7 is a free pawn. Like, it might not be a knockout, but I will still take the free pawn, you know?
Yeah. I guess he was defending the b4 pawn, but yeah.
Well, with the time control, the eval bar is going to bounce back and forth a little bit. I don't think we needed to worry too much about the specifics, especially considering Colombia has already won. So now I don't know if the players are checking on their teammates' score or if they're actually even able to check on their teammates' scores during the game. But I am sure they're not too worried.
Yeah, they can definitely check. They can see the match score if they look. And I think that Aristo on board 2 was actually in time pressure and blundered. So now Linden's going to be able to convert that. We do see resignation. So no sweep. Linden gets a win, but too little too late for the Yale team. We are watching the final game here between Maxime and Kevin. And it looks like Kevin's going to convert this. Or is it going to be a draw?
Definitely does. I think it's going to be most likely a draw, but I think White has better chances.
Yeah,
I think that's how I like to evaluate endgames. It's like, it's most likely a draw, but White is the one with the... Okay, well, now this pawn's just going to promote.
That's GG.
There's no way for Black to stop it. Unfortunately, the rook is just too slow. Once you have given up control behind the pawn, it's just going to push to a victory.
Yeah, he really needed rook c1 before Kevin played rook c5, but in the time scramble, just missed it. And so Colombia, they finish the match same as how they started with a 3-1 win. That gives them the 10-6 score. You were very close, Nemo, in the prediction, but you were just off by which team would win and which would lose.
I can't believe that I completely fudged the prediction that poorly. Like, just reverse. It was a reversal. So, I mean, look, it happens. I'm very happy for Colombia. And also, it happens to Yale. There are times when you're the top dog. There are times when you're supposed to be the winning team, but you don't. And it's totally fine.
Yeah, and as a reminder, that was just their first match of the season because they rescheduled their first week's match to tomorrow, actually. So they'll still have plenty of matches left in the season to bounce back after that. But huge congratulations to the winning team, Colombia, for proving us all wrong today.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the players have been so good, but we are also going to be bringing on a guest in a moment. We will have some wonderful interviews. Yale did just lose to Colombia. This was match number 1 for today. And I think that these games were extremely exciting, and I hope you guys found them equally exciting. So, before we hop on break, we have a quick reminder for you to join us for TwitchCon in Las Vegas. From October 20th to the 22nd, we are going to be hosting an official chess.com booth where you can play chess, win prizes. Sorry, I almost said it the opposite way, play prizes and win chess, but play chess, win prizes, and meet some of your favorite chess creators. We're so excited to be taking part in the festivities and can't wait to see you there. Use Command Vegas in chat for all the details. Are you going to be at TwitchCon, Joe?
Yeah, you'll see me there again. I'm really excited to go.
Okay, awesome. I will be there as well, so make sure you guys are going to be joining too. We are going to hop on break, and when we come back, we are going to have very exciting guests. Stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Grandmaster Anish Giri, and welcome to Left-Hand Repertoire's 1e4. The so-called Latvian gambit is horrible. F5, knight takes e5. This is not how chess is played. He played too many moves with pawns and the queen, and didn't develop his light pieces. And if knight e4, this is a very important trick to remember. Many people fall for it, actually. Knight to b5. brilliant idea. AB and queen g7, and after rook f8, bishop h6, queen c5 and f3, and surprisingly, queen f2 is almost checkmate, but it's not. If your opponent wants to be solid, we go for aggressive for the kill. If your opponent wants us to go for the kill, we play simple chess. And just use the fact that we have more space in the center, clear-cut plans, and nothing to worry about.
Do you wish playing a chess game with a friend was as easy as sending them a text? Well, good news. Now it is. With Chess.com's new iMessage app, you can start and play a game directly in iMessage. Your friend doesn't even need a Chess.com account. It's just tap and play. Head over to go.chess.com/iMessage or use the command iMessage in chat to learn more.
My name is Joe, and I'm joined by a very special guest, one of my most accomplished coworkers, Sebastian Kuhner. His resume is very impressive. He used to work for PokerStrategy.com before he started working for chess. So he was actually the CEO of Chess24, merged with Play Magnus Group. He's been doing so much with us. He is the vice president of BizDev, business development at chess.com. I'm so excited to have him as our first guest today. Sebastian, please tell us, what do you do at chess.com?
Hi, Joe. Yeah, basically I help grow chess through partnerships. So we make partnerships with great companies such as SIG, and basically, bring in money for chess, but also elevate the profile of chess through teaming up with great brands and also their networks. So growing chess reputationally and helping also companies take advantage of all the great things that are in the chess community, be it talent, brand association, simply the chess as a sport, as a game has some of the best intrinsic brand properties that any brand could wish for. And we have them reach into that world.
So you're working with a lot of other brands. It's very exciting. Is there anything that you're personally excited about that's coming up that you can maybe let some of our fans know about that's coming up in the future?
Oh, that's always tricky because the thing I'm most excited about are the things that are very close to signing. But that means exactly that I cannot talk about them yet. But let's say, for example, there's exciting things coming up in potentially also the automotive space that could be very exciting. Yeah. But when it comes to especially the Collegiate Chess League, I'm really excited about the partnership we have here with SIG because it's really game changing for college chess and chess activities on campuses across the world. So I'm very impressed by that.
Yeah, definitely one of the most exciting things that I've personally been able to work with very closely. So thank you and the BizDev team for working on that. I know that you might not be able to talk about a lot of things coming up in the future, but we did recently have a sponsorship collaboration partnership with Clash of Clans. And I know that we had an advertisement for that out recently that you posted on LinkedIn. How excited are you, and what lessons have you learned about from this Clash partnership that maybe you can use in the future?
Yeah, I mean, we generally love teaming up with brands that have, that really have an appeal for our community and where chess fits into the game or the platform or the app in a very authentic way, so that really both communities benefit from it and truly enjoy it. And that's what's really exciting about Clash of Clans and Clash Royale. So I enjoy a little bit of Clash Royale myself, and it was cool to see this whole month dedicated to chess in there. And I found the integration really nice also on chess.com with the spell chess variant and the event, the Clash event around it. So really, all around really impactful, I would say, for both communities.
That's awesome. And that's a ton of work that you guys are putting into it. So I'm glad that you're able to see kind of the rewards that are coming from it. And especially for college chess, everything that you do is so important to us. And we're really appreciative of your time. So thank you very much, Sebastian, for being here. Absolute honor to have you. One of the most talented people that I have the pleasure of working with. But before we get to the next match, we do have another interview, actually a guest from SIG. So we're going to have Nemo come back and take care of that interview. So we're going to take another quick break before that happens. Thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Welcome back, everyone. We're back from the break with a very special guest, Nathan Heyer from SIG. This is the second interview with Career Opportunities for Chess Enthusiasts presented by SIG. Nathan Heyer, you are such an awesome person. I've been able to read a little bit of your bio. You've been working with SIG for 7 years now. You're a chess enthusiast. It's so cool that SIG is able to send guests that are chess fans to be on the show. I'm sure this is a fun opportunity for you as well to be in front of so many chess fans. And I'm really excited for this interview. So I want to first ask you kind of a two-parter. First off, welcome, and tell us, what do you do at SIG and what is your personal connection to chess?
Yeah, my name's Nathan, as you said. I've been at SIG for 7 years. It's very fun. Most of what I do on a day-to-day is I write a lot of code. So I'm a software developer by trade. So I've been doing all sorts of different projects to do with data analysis and big data and data transformation and all sorts of stuff that might sound boring to some people, but to me it's very exciting. I very much enjoy it. I learned chess way when I was a kid, and I learned what I like to say the old-fashioned way, which is to say my grandpa taught me, and I don't think I ever took a game off of him. So I learned, the good old school of hard knocks way of learning to play chess. He was very nice about it, but I never won, and it's stuck with me. I'm now a big fan of board games, strategy stuff, that kind of thing.
That's awesome. Love to hear that you got in with your family, even if you could never have beaten him. But chess is stuck with you, and I think that's really interesting. I'm reading now that you're actually part of the Drexel Aquatic Robotics team, which is super cool. Obviously, you're saying you write a lot of code. Surely, like AI is very interesting to you, and there's a lot of AI like involved in chess. Like I saw that you're interested in AlphaGo as well. And I wanted to ask, with AI coming out with the new voice and image prompts to ChatGPT this week, do you have a take on AI, and do you have any thoughts on how chess could take advantage of it?
Yeah, so a lot of the new AI stuff is very cool. There's some controversies kind of about how they're trained and how they're used, and but I think it's very hard to make an argument that they're not very impressive and that they have some very cool use cases. Uh, the text image stuff, the ChatGPT is interesting because it's not a chess engine. There are chess engines that are very good that use neural networks. ChatGPT is not one of them, but it is very impressive that it can play chess, even though it's like a language model. It wasn't taught how to play chess. That is very interesting because it means to some degree it understands chess just through language.
Yeah, that's really interesting, and love that take on it. So I myself could learn a lot from ChatGPT. I know a couple of my coworkers have used it for a couple things here and there. But that's really cool. You're on the Drexel team, and Drexel actually has a chess club competing in the CCL. And I read that you're actually competing in the NACCL, which is a corporate league, which I think is so cool. So being from Philadelphia, you have to settle the debate. What is the best Philly cheesesteak spot in town?
Yeah, so I have an unconventional answer that comes straight from Philadelphia. It's not Pat's, it's not Gino's. There is a place called Delisandro's, and if you have the determination to get there, because there is always not even a line out the door, but a mob out the door. But if you have the determination to get the best cheesesteak you've ever had, it's very good.
You sold me. I've been to Philly once and I haven't had it, so I got to go back and try it because I love a good cheesesteak. But Nathan, this has been so fun and exciting. Really appreciate your time. You've been great, and really looking forward to having this partnership with SIG continue, and really appreciate the chess fans from SIG such as yourself. So thanks for coming on.
Yeah, no problem. It was good to be here.
Great. So with that, we're going to say goodbye to our very special guest, and we're going to kind of prepare for our next matchup today to cover between the University of Chicago and the University of Missouri at Columbia. So I'm really excited for that. We're going to be looking at the board assignments here. Nemo, do you want to take a look at the players that we're going to be watching today?
Yeah, absolutely. I hope you had a fun time with the interviews. I hope everybody did. We are going to be jumping right into University of Chicago, who is featuring Awonder Liang on their board one. Wow. Awonder Liang is a very, very strong, formerly junior, still junior player, because I believe junior is under 20. But Awonder has won multiple accolades. I can't even list them all. Joe might be able to, but I do remember playing with him, not against him, but seeing him at a lot of different World Youths. So it's great to see him in University of Chicago. University of Missouri, also very good team. If you missed last week, they absolutely crushed it against Team Virginia. So it's very nice to see all of them back as well. And they also have 3 grandmasters on their team, whereas University of Chicago has 2. Who do you think we should look out for today, Joe?
Well, this is such a close matchup. I wanted to say that University of Missouri actually won the second CCL season, and University of Chicago won the season after that, season 3. So both of these teams are former champions in the CCL. I think either of them have the potential to win it again this year. we're definitely going to have to watch Awonder's games. But obviously, Mizzou's coming back with Oparin, who might be even more accomplished than Awonder. So this is going to be a close matchup. I think Mizzou is the favorite, but as we saw in that last match, we can't always favor the favorites. There's going to be upsets, and I'm going to predict that this is going to be one of those upsets. I'm going to go with U Chicago. I think they're going to take down Mizzou.
I love that prediction from you. Does this mean that we need to place another bet, Joe?
Well, I might not be as confident as I was in the first prediction, but that first prediction was pretty bad. So
Right.
I'm interested to see what your prediction is going to be. If I had to put a match score to this, I'm going to say 9 for Chicago, 7 for Mizzou.
9 for Chicago, 7 for Mizzou. So you're predicting Team Chicago to win, even though they have, one less Grandmaster?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
let's tell us what your prediction is going to be, and we'll see
Well,
what happens.
I will take the inverse of you. I will take 9 for Mizzou and 7 for Chicago. Predicting
okay.
Mizzou to win.
All right. So very close predictions. 9-7 essentially means you win by 2 points, which, like, if you flip the score of one game, it's tied 8-8. So it's going to be very close.
Right.
At least by our predictions, but anything can still happen. We have round 1 underway, and we're actually already looking at Chicago's top board, Awonder, playing against Begim.
I do really like Big M's position right now. I mean, I know Awonder is going into this game with the intention of playing a slightly less theoretical opening, I should put it that way, but one of the things that happens when you play a significantly less theoretical opening is that, it just might not be that good for you.
Honestly, Awonder is probably my favorite player to watch in the entire CCL because his openings are just so crazy. I don't know if you've watched him play before, but
I
it's
have.
very common, especially in the CCL format, that he just goes completely off the books just to try to throw off his opponents. And I feel like it's kind of like a game to him, like to see how bad he can get before he comes back.
Right. I also had another fun tidbit about Awonder. Did you know he has 2 brothers who also play chess?
That's actually really interesting. I didn't know that specifically, but I actually think that it makes sense because I think his brother also goes to U Chicago. At least one of his brothers. I think he joined him on this chess team.
Oh,
He's
wow.
not playing for the A team. I think his name's Abel. Could
I thought
someone
it was
fact check me?
I thought it was a dream and a hope, but I could be wrong. It's been a while since because I've known their family for quite a long time, and I used to, we used to hang out and all that stuff. You used to see him at all the tournaments I used to play at. So, but once again, another very strong chess playing family. I think that has been the current theme for today. We've seen Alice Lee's older brother play for Columbia, Yale.
Yeah. I actually didn't know that about their names. That's actually amazing. This is very beautiful. But yeah, I thought it was Abel because over the summer season, actually, Awonder registered for our Bug House Championship, which is another little known CCL fact, is that during the off season, when the students aren't at school, we have a Bullet Championship and a Bug House Championship, and Awonder registered with Awonder Liang, who maybe is different name or different person. I don't know. I assume
Abel
it's
is
the
his brother
brother.
currently at Chicago, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's really funny. They ended up not winning because I think Awonder was like in some tournament overseas, so they weren't able to play. But they were definitely the favorite, and I think it's really cool that they go to school together.
Yeah, it's very wholesome for sure. It's super wholesome. Well, I mean, right now, as we were talking, Awonder has come back from having a slightly worse position to a better position. In fact, a significantly better position. Let's go back a few moves and talk a little bit about where it all went wrong for White. Because, in this position, I would say White has more space. White's position is looking very comfortable. But to what Joe was mentioning, Joe said that, Awonder's openings can be really crazy. And it looks like here, White was trying to defend the b4 pawn, but unfortunately just simply can't. And now black is up that pawn. And I don't know what's actually going to happen here. The a5 pawn might drop at some point. I imagine there's rook 8 to c8 simply defending it. And then black's just going to go into this endgame up a pawn.
I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. Basically, Awonder's got his pawn.
Right.
He's got the time advantage. Begim is going to try to defend a slightly worse position, but it's going to take her time. And as the time winds down, Awonder's just going to close it out and do Awonder things, and he's going to get the dub.
It sounds like you have watched a lot of Awonder games.
It's kind of a theme. This is totally his style. I mean, he's playing textbook Awonder way.
I love it. I love to see it. I mean, in this case, Awonder is now actually up 2 pawns. He is giving up this pawn on a6, but it doesn't count for much because the knight's actually fully trapped. In fact, actually, now that I look closer at the board, the knight is just trapped. It is simply just trapped. There was nowhere for it to go on c5 either. So this exchange sack was Begim's best bet to not lose material, and instead loses an exchange in place of the full knight, but it's still looking very rough.
Yeah, I think Awonder's gonna take this pretty smoothly, so maybe we want to take another look at the bird's eye view to see the rest of the games.
For sure.
Is there any game that stands out to you? We've got a lot of talented players here.
You know, let's take a look at Raja versus Balakrishnan. 2 top-level grandmasters are heading off into this endgame. Perhaps not the most exciting game, number 1, but I do really want to point out that in the previous match, we were seeing some bigger rating disparities, if I can call it that, between Yale and Columbia. But in this matchup between University of Chicago and University of Missouri, you know, for game 1, you're seeing board 1 play against board 4. And here they're, you know, only about 130 points apart. Chess.com rating wise, of course. So, yeah, seeing some really strong games coming in today.
Yeah, I mean, this is only round 1, and we're already seeing 2 grandmasters play against each other. This is a sign that these teams are just talented. These are strong teams. And I mean, I love Praveen as a player. Raja's, of course, very talented. I'm going to be very excited to see who comes out on top here. They both have about 2 minutes left. They both have a knight, a bishop, and a rook. The pawns are pretty dead even.
Yeah.
Do you think this is just going to be a draw?
I think so. I definitely do. Seeing as how they're both grandmasters, I take that back. He might have just blundered a fork. We don't need...
Knight d2.
We might have jinxed them. We were calling out that this is a draw. We're already ready to go to the next game, and we see this bishop to b3. As actually, you know, c5 is a really good move because where does this knight go? And now white is trying to attack this bishop, but there is knight to d6, which is not a fork, but it defends the rook and the bishop at the same time, so it might as well be a fork considering that the b4 knight is hanging.
What is Raja doing? We tuned in and completely cursed him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about... Like, knight d2 is the simple way to win, but Balakrishnan was like, no, I'm going to play c5 and make it look even cooler. So now white is guaranteed to lose a piece and probably the game, unfortunately.
I mean, this is how Chicago wins. I mean, they got not only Awonder at top, but they got Praveen on board too. This is their 1-2 punch combo here, and it's already looking good after this first round. But of course, it's a team match. It's more than just 2 players. You've got boards 3 and 4, and they're both going up against Mizzou's 1-2 punch combo. Looking at this bird's eye view, we've got Oparin and Antipov trying to get some points back for their team.
Yeah, let's take a quick look at Antipov's game. Over here, oh my. Bishop takes d3 with a double exclamation mark, because if queen takes, there is queen to f2 with that checkmate. So
wow.
Bishop to d3 looking very, very nice here.
That's just a game ender right there from Antipop. What a shot. Bishop d3 just wins the queen immediately or wins the game. Your choice.
I mean, we watched Antipov last week and he played extremely well. So I'm very glad to see him on form, in shape today as well. I mean, wow, what a powerful attack. White is trying to hold on with knight to d4, but black doesn't even take the queen and instead plays knight takes e5.
No, there's no holding on to this, Nemo. This is prolonging the inevitable, but it's honestly a match strategy because it's a team format, right? You want to try to draw the game out as long as possible. Also, queen f2 right now is main one being threatened. How sick.
Yes.
You need like queen e3 or no, wait, okay, knight takes. No, I mean, it's over. But...
I love that black does not falter for one moment and keeps pushing for checkmate. Despite that he could just, win easily. But now, I mean, being up a queen against the Grandmaster, Chandran here just resigned. So, very unfortunate for the white pieces. But he did face off against a very, very strong Grandmaster.
Yeah, speaking of strong Grandmasters, looks like Awonder has just converted his game against Begim. And we have Praveen about to close out there as well. Looks like Oparin won his game, even if it's not updated. But yeah, this first round, it's going to be a tie 2-2, assuming all goes well for Praveen. So maybe we keep an eye on that last game there.
Yeah, let's do it. It looks like despite being up a piece, white is still hanging on over here. Sorry, I mean white is down the piece. White is trying his very best. I do want to call out the eval bar and say that I do not think that it is accurate. I'm not sure why it was showing equal, but I do hope that we're not all eval bar Andes and understand that being up a piece with more or less equal material, black was doing a little better. So ignore that one slight eval bar error. Black is winning here, but white is still trying to hang on.
Nemo's better than the eval bar. Nemo's the source of, don't listen to eval bar, listen to Nemo, because she knows what's up.
Well, we've had this issue last match too. There was this moment when the eval bar said that black was drawn, but black was completely winning, in fact, promoting into move. So sometimes, you can't just blindly follow the eval bar.
That's why we have you, Nemo. When the eval bar fails us, we can always count on you.
Okay, until I call out the eval bar for being wrong, and then some Grandmaster comes in chat and calls me out for being wrong, and in fact, we're actually in a dead draw endgame, and I just don't know it. Until that happens, knock on wood.
Yeah, and sometimes, to be fair, these endgames can be a draw when you're up a piece, but I think there's just too many pawns to really make that true. But if you could trade pawn for pawn, then yeah, the extra piece might not be enough. Which is really interesting. So Praveen still has some work to do, but it looks like those pawns are falling.
Well, what Joe said was entirely accurate. If you swap off pawn for a pawn, this can go towards a draw. And it looks like black has actually made that mistake. So now that the eval bar is back to equal, I do want to say it is actually equal. This is not an eval bar mistake. White has been able to capture a couple of black's pawns. And one of the key things to remember in an endgame is that knight bishop endgame is actually a draw against a bishop. So if white gets this very last pawn, white is winning.
There's so many pawns, Nemo.
Okay,
There's 4 pawns for the knight.
I'm not sure what black was thinking about, but he sure did not have pawns on his mind. He has decided that. Another key fact, you don't want to swap off this bishop for the bishop because knights are really bad at protecting against passers on both sides of the board. Unfortunately, this isn't going to help black at all because these pawns are going to come rolling. Not only are they going to go rolling, white actually has a backup pawn on b2.
Oh, bishop c6, flushing the knight out, and now going to push the g pawn.
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Well, this...
Oh my god. Wait.
Oh, wait a minute.
Black is barely holding on? I don't get it.
Black is completely lost. White has simply too many pawns. You only have 2 minor pieces, and white has too many pawns.
There's so many pawns.
Well, we watched exactly how this happened. We watched black not protect any of his pawns. That's what happens when you don't protect your pawns. There's also b6. Well, he didn't play it, but b6, there was no king takes because of b8. So,
dude, I think can Praveen hold it?
Bishop c6 again. Oh, well, this is probably also winning because now you can promote, and since this is also light squared bishop, you're able to simply swap it off.
Man, that was stressful. I mean, I thought for sure Praveen would win.
I was 100% certain too. I was calling out the eval bar. And then the eval bar heard me and was like, I will prove you wrong.
Eval bar fighting for its life right now.
Well, the eval bar took it personally.
Wow. What an awesome game. I mean, I thought it'd be tied 2-2, but I guess I might have jinxed Chicago. So they're going to be down 2 points now after that game, and Missouri has the 3-1 lead.
Right, so University of Missouri does have that 3-1 lead, and as a reminder, Missouri is one of the chess schools. I don't know if that is an official term, but they have a very strong chess program. They have many strong grandmasters, and they are out here for blood. So my prediction was 9-7. I was not expecting it to go that way in the very first round, but what an intense endgame that was.
Yeah, and like I said, like this could just be a 1-game swing. That could have been that one game, right? And now Mizzou has the 2-point lead that if they just hold on the rest of the 3 rounds, your score prediction is actually going to be dead on.
Okay, but I do have to admit, I was not that I don't appreciate that. I feel very bad for Praveen right now. I mean, that was an absolutely brutal way to lose the endgame.
Yeah, he's got to take better care of those pawns because if not, they're going to come back and bite you. So props to Raja for holding on. Despite being down a piece after we tuned in, he fought and clawed his way back and got the dub for his team.
Right. So we are going to round number 2 of match 2 for today as we see Awonder play against Raja as we get a raid from Penguin GM. Welcome, everyone. Thank you very, very much for the raid. We're actually following the Collegiate Chess League right now. And I believe you mentioned that Penguin GM works for SIG right now? SIG?
Yeah. I think Andrew Tang is a very well-known, famous chess player. Of course, he played for Princeton and the CCL, and now he's working with SIG. I think he just finished playing in the Bullet Brawl, so really appreciate that raid. Thank you very much to Andrew. And he just missed, I guess, probably some of his friends playing on the Ivy League teams. I'm pretty sure he's friends with at least Brandon Jacobson, who had a perfect 4 out of 4 score, so I'm sure he'll be happy to hear about that. But now we're watching round 2 of U Chicago versus Mizzou. These two teams I'm sure Andrew is very familiar with as he's had to play against them in the past. But like you mentioned, we got Awonder now playing against Raja, so maybe he can avenge his board 2 teammate Praveen for losing against Raja.
For sure. And I think Andrew, or Penguin GM, is the perfect example of how to use gaming skills in your career. So do make sure you're checking out SIG, everyone. There's a lot of wonderful schools here competing, and, you know, SIG is a very, very fun next step or partnership.
Did you say a wonderful teams?
A wonderful teams. Of course, I meant to make that pun. You know me. It was very intentional.
Yeah, I might be at my pun limit for today's stream, but if I could encourage you to make some, I'm going to try.
Thank you. Thank you.
Unless we have to meet you again.
unless we have to mute me again, which seems to have happened both broadcasts. So next week, my goal is to not get muted.
Yeah, you got to watch those jokes. I mean, maybe it's not up to standard. They're not punny enough.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
all right.
Awonder's position is, for context, people that might be saying that, how is there a mistake out of the opening? Awonder just plays openings like this. This is just his style. One engine's mistake is another man's variation is a very well put, eloquent line by Aquila over there. I love that.
Shout out to Aquila. I mean, Awonder doesn't care about the eval bar. He obviously has his own style for the openings, but much like that game between Raja and Praveen, you can't always rely on the eval bar. The game's not over till it's over. And honestly, like, I don't even think the position is bad for Awonder.
I don't think the position is bad at all for Awonder. The inaccuracies in the opening do matter to some degree, but a 0.8 to 1 difference out of the opening is not game changing, you know? We just saw Praveen lose an endgame where he's up an entire piece. I'm sure you can survive minus 0.8 coming out of the opening.
Definitely. Still lots of chess left to be played. And we could look at, interestingly, Raja castles queenside. I was wondering if there'd be like an opposite side castles, but obviously Awonder has pushed up his kingside pawns a lot, so maybe Raja's just a little intimidated by that attack.
I would certainly be intimidated if Awonder attacked me, but let's hop over to bird's eye view as we leave Awonder to, work his way out of having a slightly worse opening into once again being slightly better out of the opening. This is the Awonder style of chess. A wonderful style of chess, obviously, but there's going to be a lot of other exciting games as well. So we will have bird's eye view for you in a moment as, there's a lot of other games that are going on. And in fact, let's hop over to Oparin immediately as we do have his camera. He looks like he's quite comfortable over there. We've got Kapil's cam on as well.
Yeah, Kapil, I think lost in the first round, but he's going to try to see if he can get a point against one of the top GMs from Mizzou. Oparin actually was kind of like a game time decision, because he's actually traveling right now. He barely got his passport, like, I want to say yesterday. I don't know where he's going or where he's coming from, but he's playing. He told us this morning his laptop was having issues. I think he had to join the Zoom from his phone, but it looks like he's got everything situated. He's here on the match day. He's playing. He's getting dubs. He's doing it all right now.
Yeah, well, we're glad that he is joining us. I mean, I just want to speak to the devotion of all chess players, Even if you're traveling, even if you're having laptop issues, you can still play chess. I love that. And to be fair, I can't tell that he's having travel issues or laptop issues. His position's looking very solid against Chandran. And although the eval bar does say that this position is equal, I would personally prefer White's position. It looks like his pieces are a lot more active. It looks like he has a very strong center. The knight on e5 is under attack.
Yeah, it looks like both knights are actually hanging right now. It's like the knight on c3 is undefended after this last move. But White can take on e5 with tempo, but I guess Black also takes with tempo because then the bishop on e3 would hang with check.
Right. This is a very fun line, and I don't think you can play e takes f6 here because after queen takes king h2, this bishop can simply take back on f6, and then you're facing a pin on d4, and you don't actually have e5, where you might think that this is a free rook, because now there is also checkmate. Wow. And this is a line that is very fun to calculate. I don't know if you've ever seen those discovered attacks where the knight goes to g5 versus g6, like g5 and then e6 or something, but it reminds me a lot of one of those. Oh, queen to e1 is not a great move though.
Yeah, that was an awesome line that you just pointed out. Pretty deep. I'm sure Oparin probably saw that too. And we're seeing a different variation. We see the queen to e1 that you weren't a fan of, but we do see this e5 idea attacking the knight and the rook in the corner. So why is this not so good for White still?
Well, after bishop b7, he's going to give up this knight, and after bishop takes f6, once again, White is going to be up a piece. But what are you going to do about this pawn on b2?
That pawn is definitely a thorn on the queen side, and I mean, this could be really good for Kapil and the U Chicago team if one of their lower boards could take down Oparin. That would be huge. This is like one of the best players in the league, and Oparin is beatable, actually. We saw him lose last week to U Virginia's top board, Jason Moorfield. So anything could but the eval wait, were we looking at analysis or
this is the actual game. I wish I could say that I have like played into some really cool analysis, but unfortunately, we can take all of that back and just say that white is
reality.
Welcome back to reality. White is once again winning because although this b2 pawn is very strong, Black has unfortunately made 3 very passive. I don't want to say very passive. He was trying to defend, but 3 inaccurate moves in a row, and now all of a sudden White is threatening the knight on c4 as well as checkmate on g7 indirectly because of e6. So this game actually has me really excited because this just shows how strong a grandmaster can be. He might be playing an inaccuracy, but it is still a blitz game, and Chandron doesn't have the advantage of time. He's in fact a little lower than Oparin on time right now, so there is a lot to play for in this position.
Yeah, and if you just compare the pieces, like White is so active. They're completed their development. Black has pieces still on the back rank. The bishop hasn't moved. The queen hasn't moved. The knight is hanging. If the knight moves, the bishop is hanging. If the bishop moves, the pawn is hanging. Like everything is just falling apart right before our very own eyes.
Right, and this is why I always like to say, keep your pieces protected no matter what. Okay, well, d6 is certainly not help. Oh, wow. Okay, so Oparin, I think Oparin just went for the simplest line. He simply defended the knight with a check because it was hanging on f5 due to the bishop on c8 and decides to take the free knight. But I did want to point out that if he felt like being really fancy today, he had e6, which actually blocks the opponent's bishop and then goes for checkmate. But he didn't need to do that. He's still completely better in this position, and you know, there's nothing wrong with keeping chess safe and simple.
Yeah, we didn't see the fancy move, but he kind of is playing pretty clinically here. Like, he knows he can win a piece. Why complicate things? He's up on time. He knows he's winning. He's just gonna convert, and that's Oparin's White here.
Indeed. Wow. All right, well, let's go to bird's eye view, as I am pretty confident that Oparin will be taking this game down. We see a lot of eval bar movement. Any particular game you want to look at?
Well, we see Antipov had a quick win against Chicago's board 4, but maybe we could look at the top boards, maybe back to Awonder, whose opponent is really low on time, only like 12 seconds.
Indeed. Okay, let's do that. 50 seconds to 12 seconds. Raja not having the best game. He does have a very nice knight on e5, but unfortunately the rest of his major pieces are all in the back rank. This queen trade's really smart. When you're passive and when you don't have a lot of space, you really want to get out of that situation by swapping off pieces. Just think about it this way. If you have pieces but no space, you can get more space by having less pieces, right?
I've never thought of it that way. That's so smart.
Yeah,
so
I mean, it's very simple. Chess can be a simple game if you break it down.
Yeah. I love Awonder's position. I think he was trying to get c3, d4 in at some point, try to kick this knight out from this lovely e5 outpost, because I think he wants to infiltrate on f7.
Indeed.
What do you think?
Yes, f7 is the square to go to, but it will take a little bit of work. So for now, I suppose he's just happy swapping off the rooks and maybe going for the weak b pawn.
So he puts the king in check. He doesn't take on a5. Maybe that was too much.
I think Black was scared of taking on a5 here, because it's mate in 4.
Oh, the rook
or just
back.
mate. It's just mate because you can try like. No, you can't even try anything. I was gonna suggest pawn here, but what am I like?
Nah,
the knights are just finished. Yeah, it's just mate in 1 basically.
The pawn was
so
poison.
yeah, that was a poisonous pawn.
He's living off the increment right now. He's got 2 seconds.
This is a time scramble situation as
he picks up a
White
pawn.
takes out the pawn.
It doesn't trade off the. Oh, he flags.
Ooh.
Raja goes down.
Rough game for Raja. There was still
like
a fighting chance, but I think it was really hard here.
It's hard in those time scrambles against Awonder, but I think we have one last game in this round.
Yeah. We've got Praveen taking revenge on Begim for the last endgame that he might have lost. It's pretty hard to mess up this one because his pawns are so far pushed. There's simply d6, and as some of you guys might have heard, 2 passed pawns on the 6th, like 2 connected passed pawns on the 6th, are stronger than a rook.
Yeah, and looks like Praveen's supporting that D pawn, and he's going to be on his way to promote.
Well on his way to promote. There is absolutely nothing that black can do in this position, unfortunately, stop promotion. At d7, rook goes to d8, you've got c7. If the king comes, there's c7. If you move your rook, there's promotion. It's just... And we see the resignation coming in from Begim.
So, yeah, no moves. So she simply flags. And Chicago, they're going to get 2 points in this round. So we saw the same kind of thing happen in our first match today, where the first round was a 3-1 win and the second round was a draw. Do you think Chicago is going to be kind of in the same boat as Yale, or do you think they're going to be able to change things this time?
Well, we do have, the round 2 scores coming up in a moment here as we see... to answer your question, I was always on the side of Missouri. I know you were on the side of Chicago, but I am very confident in Missouri. I think they have been playing quite solid. Unfortunately, Begim hasn't had the best results so far, but their top boards are safe and solid. So, pretty hard to argue against 2 grandmasters. Of course, Awonder doing absolutely amazing for University of Chicago, but Antipov, Oparin, Raja this game, and it can still be anybody's match, but I think it's looking very likely for Missouri. What do you think, Joe?
I mean, it's only a 1-game difference, right? If Praveen had won that first game against Raja, it'd be dead even, tied score, 4-4. So it's still anyone's match. We still have 2 rounds remaining if there's not even overtime. So it's that close. I still think Chicago has a great chance to come back, but they're going to have to get some points really soon. So
yeah, for sure. I think that while we are watching all of these amazing college students play chess, you too, if you are in college, should consider the chess.com College Ambassador Program. If you're a college student who wants to help grow chess on your college campus, join the team and get the backing of chess.com at your school. Benefits include diamond memberships, exclusive chess.com merch, career opportunities, and even meeting chess celebrities. For all the details, use Command CAP. That's Command CAP in the chat. Thank you guys very much, and we are going to go on break, and we will be back to see if Mizzou can hold on to the lead in round 3.
Love playing chess variants? Or just looking for something new? Join us for the Variants Community Series. Every 2 months, we'll be featuring a different variant in a series of events and competitions. Learn a new variant and compete against other players for prize money, or just play for fun. Look for community arenas, streamer arenas, and championship events. 6 weekly arena tournaments held every Thursday will be followed by a championship event with cash prizes, including a $1,000 first place prize. The third and final weekly arenas will be streamer arenas, featuring gifted subs as prizes. Win any of these events to qualify for the championship. The Variants Community Series kicks off on September 7th with King of the Hill, where the first to occupy the center wins the game. But getting checkmated still loses. And join the Variants Club today to learn more about upcoming events, how to participate, and much, much more. See you in the arena on chess.com.
Your subscription makes shows like this possible, which is why our Twitch subscribers will never see ads on chess.com. Connect your chess.com account and Twitch account at go.chess.com/connectaccounts, and bang, boom, voila, you're done. 100% ad-free bliss forevermore. Whether you're following our events on site or on stream, type the command connect in the chat, and thank you for helping bring these shows to life.
Welcome back to the Collegiate Chess League presented by SIG. Don't forget, you can use gaming skills in your career and apply at sig.com/chess. Well, we have seen some very exciting games so far. Are you excited for round 3, Joe?
I'm excited for this second half. We're going to see the top words against the top words, and that's going to be UChicago's grandmasters Awonder and Praveen against Mizzou's top grandmasters Oparin and Antipov. So that's going to be a huge matchup coming up. We have Mizzou with a 2-point lead, but that could be erased very easily if Chicago gets, a point or two here and there. But they've got only 2 rounds to work with, so it's going to be a tight finish here.
I love tight finishes because I love exciting chess. And I think we have seen plenty of that. And, I promised people that there will be grandmasters, and my gosh, we have a lot of grandmasters in a collegiate chess tournament. Don't forget, all of the students here are part of, well, in this very specific case, this is, you mentioned that in Division 1, they're all American universities, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the Collegiate Chess League is actually open internationally. It just so happens that in Division 1, they're all American universities. So we are seeing some of the top players from American universities over here, but of course their nationalities are international. I've seen Begim represent Uzbekistan, I believe, before. And yeah, just some very exciting chess.
Actually, a lot of the Mizzou players are international students. So even though they go to American universities, they're not originally from the US, but obviously there's talent all over the world. Another fun fact about U Chicago is that when they won in season 3, they beat one of the international teams, University of Warsaw, all the way from Poland. So
wow.
Yeah, and that was I think it was 9-7, but I remember Chicago ended up winning that in the 4th and final round, so it was very close. But Warsaw had I think Bartek, who is actually the coach of UTRGV. Another fun fact. But yeah, tons of international players and universities competing in the CCL. So this is kind of like a world championship title in a way for universities. Just so happens that all the Division 1 teams are American.
This feels very much like when the US calls NFL or something like the World Championships for football, and it's like, first of all, what football are you talking about? Secondly, I have never seen another team playing this, But it is open to the world. You can be any nationality and be representing any of these schools. You just have to represent the school. And I think the harder part is getting into one of these schools. I don't know what the process is, but you need to either be really, really good at chess or really good at academics, and neither are particularly easy. So, yeah.
Yeah, or in some other players' cases, you could be really, really good at both.
True, for sure.
So,
it's not necessarily one or the other. You can be good at both.
Yeah. So, all right, we've got game 3 or round 3 underway. We've got Awonder versus Antipov here. Awonder's got this little grin on his face, and Antipov's twirling with his hair thinking. Is there something going on in the position, do you think, that Awonder's happy to see?
I have no idea what he could possibly be happy to see. This feels like a very standard endgame, or a queenless middle game. I think is by far the most accurate term in this position. They have every piece on the board except for the queen and one pawn, but I never really consider pawns pieces anyways. So I'm not sure what Awonder was grinning there about.
I have a guess. I think it's because white has king e2 and black has king e7. This is basically a delayed Bong Cloud.
You know what? I think so. All right, we have delayed Bong Cloud on the board for board 1.
This is some Grandmaster Bong Cloud theory that we're witnessing right now.
I love it. This is the safest position to Bong Cloud in. So if you guys are trying to learn some chess today, if you really feel like Bong Clouding, if you've been challenged to Bong Cloud every single game or something, swap off the queens and then do it, and then you probably will never get in trouble. I mean, now we just see the king coming back to f1. He's doing this delayed castling thing, but yeah, this is a very, very solid game. All right, shall we take it to a bird's eye view? We might come back to this game later when it gets spicier. But, these are two very good teams, and we have a lot of grandmasters playing. So we're going to be seeing some exciting chess, and it'd be a pity to miss any of those super hyped moments.
Yeah, that's one of the tougher parts about covering these kind of matches where you have 4 games happening at the same time. I always feel bad if I miss a moment or something. So it's hard to choose which game to focus on because all of them are so interesting. I think we definitely have to take a look at the board 2, game 2 between Oparin and Praveen, because looks like Oparin's finally starting to break through here with an advantage.
Wow. And once again, this is blitz, so they're moving pretty fast, but you also have to remember this is move 18. And it's looking like we are going to the endgame. So why do you think white's so much better here, Joe?
I was hoping that you would be the one to take that responsibility, but I mean, immediately you see Praveen is like not comfortable just looking at the clock, right? Oparin hasn't even used a minute, and Praveen has already used more than half of his time. If we also just look at the position, his knight move, he's attacking a lot of the light squares. He's opening up his bishop, attacking that knight. The pawn on d4 is actually really weak. And I think that's the main difference in the position right now.
Yeah, one of the key factors in this position is how black's pieces are just completely scattered all over. This bishop on e6 is looking a little shaky. Like Joe was mentioning, the pawn on d4 is looking a little shaky. And it probably also doesn't help that Praveen is playing against another grandmaster who is actually 130 points higher rated than him. When you get to grandmaster status, you start to learn that also not all grandmasters are built equal, just like how not every 1000 is built equal. I'm sure, you and I both can relate to the fact that there's always that one person who's around your rating, but you're like, wait a minute, but they're so much better than me. And I think in this case, Oparin is simply one of the best grandmasters in the entire event.
Yeah, for sure. But he is beatable, as we saw from last week. He's not perfect, but he's playing this pretty darn well. So what exactly is the knockout blow here, Nemo?
Rook takes c8 is the knockout blow because you can't play bishop c8 due to queen takes f7. That's just checkmate in 2. So after knight takes c8, which is your only move, unless you really want to give up piece, you can just go bishop to h3.
Wow. That's a removing the defender tactic. I was not looking at this move. Like, you're taking the bishop off the long diagonal, but when you look at it, it's so clear and it makes so much sense. Do you think Oparin's going to go for this line?
I think he is. There's no reason Oparin would not see this line. And we actually do see it. Now we just have to see if he sees bishop h3. Bishop h3 is like very intuitive, actually. You're just looking at this position and thinking, well, how is black defending? What is black defending? And black is defending the f7 pawn. And Oparin knows this because he moved his queen over to f4 and his knight over to g5 to go for it, right? So there's no reason at all for Oparin to miss bishop to h3.
So moment of truth here. He's taken some time.
Yeah, there's also nothing wrong with taking time. I think he will. My bet is on he will.
All right. Well, how long? When will he play it? If you think he will,
hopefully in the next, within the next minute. He's up a whole minute on Praveen, so he really doesn't need to be too worried. But I will get worried if he doesn't play bishop h3 and also lets his time go down, because in blitz, having a time advantage is a significant advantage. You get more time to think about your moves. You get more time for those critical moments. And I think that's really important and something that sort of gets overlooked a lot when people are looking at a position or like, oh, well, it's equal here. But then you look at the guy and he's like up 2 minutes or something. It's like, you know what? I think the guy being up 2 minutes might have a better chance. But okay, now he does play bishop h3.
There it is. There's your move. Wow.
Yeah.
He plays it with 30 seconds in advantage. So this is a really tough spot for Praveen to be in. Wouldn't want to be him right now against Oparin. But I have to point out this game 4. If we look at the bird's eye view, I feel like something crazy is happening over there.
Hopping over to board 4 in a moment, as we see in bird's eye view that Oparin does have a significant advantage with that bishop h3. Antipov has somehow taken the lead against Awonder, but let's hop on over to board number 4 over here.
And we see Miles Brown, the 4th board from U Chicago, with the white pieces, taking on a grandmaster on board 3, Raja from Mizzou. And he's up in exchange.
Right, up the exchange and also up a pawn. Don't forget that. Pawns are pretty important in these positions too. It's actually going to be up 2 pawns because there's no way to protect d3. Wow.
What's going on with Raja's position? What'd he do?
Well, I feel like Raja overcommitted to an attack. So let's go back actually into the middle game and just take a quick look at what happened. It definitely does feel like Raja... Oh, you know what? I take it back. I think Raja simply blundered this. I think he missed knight takes d5 because there's no queen takes d5. Because after queen takes d5, there's bishop to c4. So it looks like Raja blundered the pawn and then decided to commit to an attack by sacrificing on f3. And that might not have turned out great for him, which is what has brought us to this position here, where he is still trying to go for the attack. Don't get me wrong. He still has the queen and the bishop aimed at white's king. Unfortunately, this rook on f2 is doing the job and defending g2 and not allowing anything to come through.
I would feel pretty nervous with that queen and the bishop cutting the king off, but those rooks are doing such a good job of taking up all the squares. On the dark squares specifically, like that bishop cannot attack either of those rooks. They're not going anywhere.
Exactly. And like Joe, you were saying, you know, feeling scared about the queen and the bishop, I would say Miles agrees with you and has offered the queen trade. Now, when you're up material in chess, one of the best things you can do is swap off pieces. And you know what's even better than that? If you are feeling like your king is under attack, if you are feeling unsafe with your king, you can swap off the queen, because once the queens are gone, there's almost no chance of your opponent checkmating you. So these are all very logical moves over here by Miles. He's going for the bishop, kicking it out.
Yeah.
Solid chess.
I think this would be a huge result for Chicago because obviously they're board 4, not a tiled player. Taking down a grandmaster, I mean, that's just amazing in and of itself. But if you could also just combine that with like the team score, because that's going to be huge for them to come back. And it looks like they're going to need those points because Oparin just won. It looks like Antipov's also going to take down Awonder. But yeah, we could take a look at the bird's eye view and see how the rest of the games are going.
Indeed. Oparin has taken another point from Mizu, but Miles will most likely be getting one back for University of Chicago. However, in bird's eye view, we can see that Kapil isn't doing that poorly against Begim. In fact, he seems to be doing quite well. However, Awonder is in a completely lost rook, bishop versus rook. Okay, well now it's just a bishop pawn endgame. So he resigns. But Begim is trying to hang on over here. Attempting to, at least. She is down 3 pawns, but is trying to checkmate white's king. So these are always fun games. I like to call these desperado. Desperado is a very clear tactical term. We don't need to go that far, but black is just tossing everything at white. She just wants to try to checkmate. She is down 3 pawns. She knows that her only chance at holding this game or getting anything back is making moves like knight takes f3, in the hopes that if g takes f3, there is something here, but actually there isn't that much here. She is just hoping that there is. She is very low on time, and
she's playing hope chess.
She is playing hope chess, but I don't want to call it hope chess because I think she's playing objectively very well. I think this is how you have to play when you are down material, when there's nothing much else going for you. And like I was saying, it can work. It really can, because now white has blundered the knight on c7. Goodness. And with the king here, there was actually queen to g3 taking the rook. Not that Begim seems to care because she is going straight for the checkmate. But all of these checks with so little time on the board is definitely going to bring her something. There we go.
Queen
okay.
E3.
Now the rook does hang
goodness.
with the fork.
When things were looking good for Chicago on the bottom 2 boards, they took a sharp turn in the wrong direction. We had a completely winning position for Kapil, and Begim, she plays it perfectly, tricky enough to make Kapil blunder in the time pressure. And even on the other board, it looks like we have Raja clawing his way back, actually. So this, I think, is probably the final straw for the Chicago team. Even though there's another round left, they've already hit the 8-point mark. All they need is a draw, and they might get it here.
Yes, indeed. They are, wow. It has been very exciting chess thus far. But I think this round has been by far the most exciting. Unfortunately, through all the excitement, it just hasn't really gone Chicago's way. But I hope everybody watching has had fun.
What was your prediction again?
I believe it was 9-7. You were the reverse. I was 9-7 for Missouri.
Oh, and Raj is gonna win this now.
Yeah, he might have missed queen to g4 with g5 and essentially checkmate. I don't.
Oh.
How do you even? Oh well, okay, sorry. I thought it was checkmate, but it is not checkmate. You simply swap off the queen and then you promote your pawn. For a minute there, I was like, oh, this is checkmate, but it's actually pretty clear cut.
Well, he won the
way.
queen. He did. Yeah, he did the lines. So.
Yeah.
Wow, was that a sweep? Oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness. Missouri is at 9 points. 9.
Wow. So they officially win the match. We have one last round to go, round 4. And if Chicago sweeps back, then your prediction will be right. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, you don't think Chicago will win the next round 4-0?
I have a funny feeling it's not going to happen, but you never know. I mean, Oparin's like at the airport. Maybe they just like want to head out early or something. But Chicago, they got some strong players, but round 3, unfortunately, it was a knockout. They couldn't come back from that. And just looking at these players' scores so far, the top 2 boards for Mizzou are perfect, 3 out of 3 each. And Chicago only has 3 points from their top 2 boards, but it's just not enough.
Right. I mean, I think we've seen some really exciting games thus far. And in terms of player performance, I would say, Begim coming back in this game was very, very wonderful. And, being a higher rated player is not always about having a dominating position all the time, but also knowing what to do with the position that you are in and still always fighting and still trying your best. And I think she has done that. She was on 2 losses, but she was actually practically lost in the last game, but in a blitz game, it was super dynamic and she fought back, which is wonderful to see. Not so much if you were her opponent, but wonderful to see as a viewer, I should say.
And we see round 4 has just begun. Oh my goodness, a quick draw between Oparin and Awonder. That's not really what you want to see. But I mean, it makes sense. The match has been decided and these players have been playing and they just want to, I guess, go on a quick break. We see Awonder all smiles there. I think, yeah, always fun to have him playing in the CCL. There's going to be much more exciting games to come for the future. So yeah, just taking the quick draw against Oparin. So
nothing wrong with that.
Of course. But
yes.
Yeah, we still have 3 other games. I hope they're not all quick draws. But the good news about that draw, Nemo, is that your prediction's wrong.
Thank you. I was just going to say that they might have messed up my prediction. Not that I think Oparin was going to lose, but there was always the chance. So this way, Joe, you and I, once again, are going to not owe each other subs. But there's always next week, right?
Exactly. And we have some more exciting matches coming up next week, so definitely stay tuned for that. I think this Mizzou team is going to play UT Dallas. But, of course, we got to see all the matches and whether or not the teams are available. So always tons of matches going on, but we're only choosing the top 2 to cover. So who knows?
We are handpicking you the most interesting matches. That's basically what Joe's trying to say.
Yeah. And then so far we've chosen Mizzou twice. We might even see them a 3rd time next week. We still haven't seen UT Rio Grande Valley or UT Dallas yet. And those are 2 of the best teams in the league. Unfortunately, we couldn't cover their match today as they had to reschedule. I think about half of the UTRGV team was in Mexico still for World Juniors. So these are busy chess players. They're very busy. Plus, they're like working in school full time. Yeah. So
right.
It's tough to manage who's playing and when. Luckily, the format of the season allows them to reschedule so that they can get their matches in. But if all goes well, Mizzou's going to finish out this, and maybe we'll see them back again next week.
Were you able to play any chess while you were in college? Because you did go to UCLA, right?
Yeah, so
So you had a pretty busy schedule, I imagine.
we unfortunately didn't compete in Pan Ams when I was there. The CCL didn't exist yet. But we did play at US Amateur Team West. I played twice. I think the first time I was top board for the UCLA team, and I got crushed. So that was fun. And then the
Okay.
second time I was board 4. So our team grew a lot better, or I got worse, or a combo. But it was a much more pleasant experience on board 4 than board 1.
Nice. Did I ever mention my school went to China for a show match back in 2019?
Oh,
My-
that's so cool.
Yeah, my entire college team, as well as I believe the 5 other teams in the Ivy League. Like, once again, I know that we're not an Ivy. I know that University of Toronto isn't an Ivy League, but University of Toronto was putting on the event, so they invited themselves and call it the Ivy League. I don't forgot, was it like the Ivy League match or whatever, and invited like Princeton, Yale, and all these schools and stuff. So it was, anyways. But I think 6 schools got to go to China to play a show match against some Chinese schools, and it was really fun.
How'd you do?
I personally did pretty okay. I very clearly remember Dorsa of the SLU team. I don't think she is on the SLU team anymore, but she offered me a draw in a position I really strongly disliked, and she was like, yeah, don't worry about it. And I was
Wow,
like,
what a
okay,
homie.
well, thanks, I guess. This was obviously a show match, so the scores individually didn't matter that much. I do think SLU just took it down, though. They were very dominant in China as well. But that was very clear memory from that tournament.
So Toronto wasn't the only non-Ivy playing in this Ivy tournament.
Right, I
SLU
mean, the
was there
Chinese
too.
schools. Yeah, SLU was also there. I forgot.
Ah,
I think Missouri was also there, actually.
back in 2019, yeah.
Yeah, I think I remember Oparin being there.
Wow.
Back then, I wasn't doing chess content. Otherwise, it would have been chess content galore. It was like, I guess, 8 teams just in China for a week. But yeah.
I think Dorsa actually might be a grad student at Mizzou now. Fun fact.
Oh, fun fact, indeed.
I could totally be making that up. And I hope someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but
Let's just start making up lore for all of these players. Yeah, why not?
yeah, who's gonna stop us, Nemo?
Right, who's going to stop us?
All right.
I mean,
well,
is chat going to fact check every single thing?
I hope well, some people out there perhaps, but anyways, yeah, we do have Praveen versus Mikhail. I don't know what's going on, Nemo. Is there any exciting chess happening?
There's not I don't want to call their chessboard. Well, you know what? You jinxed it again. There is the exciting chess. Joe, you need to say that more often. Okay, before B takes C6, this position is dead solid. Like dead equal. It is exactly the same. Okay, sorry, white is down 1 pawn, but he can get it back pretty easily if you really wanted to. This position is pretty equal, but after bishop takes c6, it's actually less clear. B takes c6, queen takes e7, knight takes e7, and now white has somehow not made an isolated pawn on e5, which is why before bishop takes c6, the idea was bishop takes e5, and black is just simply going to this endgame, up a pawn. Going to the endgame, being up a pawn as black, does not mean you might necessarily win this game outright, but it does mean there's no chance for you to lose, which is really fun. Playing chess without the possibility of losing is quite fun. You should try it sometime.
I mean, Praveen was up a piece and still lost. So
Okay,
maybe
well, why
being
did you have
down a
to-
pawn.
Why did you have to call him out like that?
I'm sorry, but I just gotta say it. Like, it's the fact of the matter. If Praveen can lose up a piece, maybe he can win down a pawn. Does that logic check out? Or
You know what? You're right. I see exactly where you're going with that. Yeah, losing down a piece, it just means your chess is high variance, right?
listen, if I went into an endgame up a piece and lost, I know I got to change things up. So now he's going into the endgame down a pawn and see if that changes things for him.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Well, let's have a quick bird's eye view because Begim has actually won her game without us actually making a mention of that. So she is 2-4 for today. She has made a slight comeback, which is very nice to see. And all right, between Raja and let's hop on over to Raja's game, because we still have a long time to go between Praveen and Mihal.
Yeah, Raja is playing against Kapil. Kapil Chandran is the FIDE master from U Chicago. Yeah, kind of a tough match for the board 3s and 4s for U Chicago, but maybe Kapil can change that here in the final round. We have seen Raja play some honestly like shaky chess, if I'm being honest, in these past 3 games.
Yeah, Raja has not been playing the best today, you know. And you can't expect people to always be on their best performance, but right now Chandran's king might be on FA, and you might be thinking, wow, he hasn't castled, but this is one of those positions where it just doesn't matter that much. There's so much more going on. You don't really need to be castled. Of course, it's nice to have your rook out, but Black's doing just fine in this position.
Yeah, he's trying to like open up the D file because he's got both queen and rook there. And like, for example, if Kapil takes the knight, pawn takes, bishop takes on D6 is a huge threat. So obviously Kapil is not going to go for that. Instead, he develops his bishop with tempo on Raja's rook. So how do you react to this?
Well, I think one of the best reactions in chess to being attacked is to attack back. The best defense is oftentimes offense, is what I like to say, or what my coaches used to tell me. So I really like rook to e7, because where does your queen go? If it goes to c8, there is bishop takes d6. And once again, this is just an exchange, right? So Black's king is still here, so you might as well take advantage of that.
So you're showing no fear. You're like,
No
go
fear.
ahead, attack my rook. I don't care. We're going to get that rook to e7 and just pick up that.
Was this, oh my god.
Is this the first mouse that we've seen? Look at Raja. He's shaking his head.
Oh my gosh. Raja is not having a good day. Ouch. He definitely wanted to play rook e7. And rook e7 would have been so cool. The best defense is oftentimes offense, but not if you misclick. Ouch.
That's gotta hurt, but the good news for Raja, even if he loses this off a mouse slip, he can be rest assured that his team still gets the dub. Obviously, the points are important for tie breaks. So, and you know, when you're winning or doing better, like you don't want to lose a game from a mouse slip. So that's the harsh reality of online blitz chess. But I don't know, Raja's still not out. Like we saw him win down a piece. So
Yeah.
this would be quite the test, though, to be fair.
This is, well, you know, I don't have too much faith in him making a comeback in this game. Sometimes mouse slips happen, and thankfully in this specific case, the mouse slip just doesn't matter that much because his team is actually completely crushing it. So, you know, hopefully his team will just give him a pat on the back, give him a hug, and say, hey, don't worry about it.
He just resigns.
Yeah.
But, I mean, that's fair. He played really well. He kind of got away with a couple against Praveen and even Miles. But obviously he would have preferred to finish this game out. But we do have one last game here between the two GMs on board 2. If we want to check and head over to Antipav versus Balakrishnan to finish out the match.
Indeed. And not much has actually changed dynamically on the board. It's still 2 pawns. Black is still up that 1 pawn. It's bishop versus knight. And we've got the rooks on the board. So, you know, this is very, very solid and very equal. This pawn isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, but it is still an annoying pawn to have. Does Black have any chances of winning it back?
Black does, but also more importantly, there's no chance for white to push it because this is a dark square bishop and the promotion square is a white square. So there's no real way for white to actually kick this rook out. So while that is like, there's just no threat. And even if you get this pawn, it's still quite hard to win. But also this is a dark square bishop, so you can just defend the whole time.
Yeah, that makes sense. So even though the rook is maybe trying to get to b8, the king is in time to chase down the pawn.
Yes.
But we've seen mouse slips and we've also seen flags. And look at the clocks. This is getting down to this flagging territory. So there's definitely a lot of potential for mistakes.
It's never over until it's over is what I've learned from casting the Collegiate Chess League this season.
That being said, the match is about to wrap up. As soon as this game ends, the match will be officially over. So... what happened to the position?
Oh, well, okay. So maybe white should not have lost that pawn. Because now, we oftentimes joke that rook endgames are a draw, but that's only if you're up one pawn. Being up two pawns changes things significantly, especially because you can create connected pawns with your pawns. So here, let's see what black does. I mean, Antipov is such a strong grandmaster. I'm expecting spectacular endgame technique from this, and Praveen probably needs a miracle to actually be able to hold it.
Was it Praveen that we saw lose up a piece because he dropped all of his pawns?
Yes. Yeah.
Man, someone needs to teach him to protect his pawns because it's costing him games.
Indeed. Praveen might need to go back into the endgame lab and just take a look at how to defend his pawns. There's nothing wrong with occasionally losing one or two, but he has lost a number of pawns in today's matches, and I think that's definitely costing his team some points.
Yeah, and it looks like he's gonna lose another pawn. That's gonna be too many.
Yeah, it's gonna be too many. Yeah, these connected passers are one of the most classic ways for black to convert the game.
Are there any stalemate tricks? Some rook sacrifices, maybe.
Not that I am aware of.
Well, maybe
yeah, it's
coming
pretty
up.
Tough. Maybe coming up. Maybe he can try something. There's always the chance that Antipov doesn't, isn't as careful, but...
Uh-oh.
Okay, and Antipov has one. Yeah, it is all good.
GG's.
Unfortunately, University of Chicago had a potentially... I don't know what their own feelings coming into this match were, but I would say they are a rather strong team. So I'm definitely expecting to see more of them upcoming. What are your thoughts, Joe?
Yeah, of course, Chicago, you can't count them out. Obviously, it's just a regular season game, so they have a really good chance of making it to the playoffs. And once you get to there, that's where the real season begins. So like I mentioned, they've won in the past. They could win again. We saw them go up against a really tough Mizzou team. They've also had great success in the playoffs. And right now, Mizzou, they're a perfect 2 for 2 so far in the season. Lots of chess left to play, though. And I'm really excited to see what comes up next week. But I believe we have a player interview. Is that right, Nemo?
Yes, we are going to be going on break. But after that, we are going to come back with an interview with Grandmaster Antipov, who has been playing for Mizzou and has scored 4 out of 4 today. So amazing performance by him this week, and also it was an amazing performance by him last week. So we are very excited for that, and you guys will be able to help us ask him some questions. Maybe how is he such a good chess player and also studying at a really good school over here in the United States of America. So we will be going on break, and when we come back, be ready for Grandmaster Antipov.
Hi, I'm Grandmaster Anish Giri, and welcome to Left-Hand Repertoire's 1e4. The so-called Latvian gambit is horrible. F5, knight takes e5. This is not how chess is played. He played too many moves with pawns and the queen, and didn't develop his light pieces. And if knight e4, this is a very important trick to remember. Many people fall for it, actually. Knight to b5, brilliant idea. ab, and queen g7, and after rook f8, bishop h6, queen c5, and f3, and surprisingly, queen f2 is almost checkmate, but it's not. If your opponent wants to be solid, we go for the aggressive for the kill. If your opponent wants us to go for the kill, we play simple chess. And just use the fact that we have more space in the center, clear-cut plans, and nothing to worry about.
Do you wish playing a chess game with a friend was as easy as sending them a text? Well, good news. Now it is. With Chess.com's new iMessage app, you can start and play a game directly in iMessage. Your friend doesn't even need a Chess.com account. It's just tap and play. Head over to go.chess.com/iMessage or use the command iMessage in chat to learn more.
And welcome back, everyone. We are joined here by the wonderful Grandmaster Mikhail Antipov. And he is on a perfect score for the University of Missouri. So, Mikhail, who is Missouri's biggest competition this season?
What do you mean? I'm sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Who do you think is your university's biggest challenge? You guys are super strong, but do you think you're going to face any
got it.
issues this season?
No, I mean, of course, there are so many strong opponents as in previous seasons. In this season, it would be the same. So I cannot say that we will have simple matches at all. Like today, it just happened that we guaranteed ourselves a win after the third match, but in general, I remember when in the past we played against University of Chicago, we actually didn't have such clear wins. So I can't really say that some teams are definitely lagging behind. Like every match is important.
That makes a lot of sense, and I love the answer. Obviously, in the past, you guys have lost to Chicago, but today you had an awesome, convincing win, so congratulations on that. I wanted to ask, I know you're international, but you're attending school at Mizzou. How are you liking living in Missouri so far? And I know it's kind of far from St. Louis, but I'm sure you visited a lot. What's your favorite thing to do while you're in Missouri?
Yeah, I came to US around 1.5 years ago. So far, I really like the Missouri. In general, my city might be a little bit boring because it's not so big, especially because I came from Moscow. It's a huge city. Everything seems a little bit small in comparison. But in general, I really like that in my city in Columbia and in Missouri in general, there are a lot of parks, a lot of lakes where you can always have something to do. So there are a lot of really nice activities related to nature. There are a lot of trails. That stuff.
Well, thank you very much, Mikhail. We have one more question for you. We noticed that you played the Bong Cloud a little delayed against Awonder earlier. Was that completely intentional?
I just wanted to simplify a position to exchange queens. I personally didn't understand that after a6 he would be threatening c5. I thought that exchange of queens is definitely good for me. When I realized that it's not so simple, but I think he made several inaccuracies, especially when he decided to go bishop b4 and take on c3. After that, my game was quite straightforward. I mean, but this probably was still complicated for a very long time, but at least I didn't feel that my position is worse or that I'm in some kind of risk.
Well, we really appreciate seeing that, and thank you very much for your thoughts on the position as well. We are going to be jumping into wrapping up the show, so once again, please, a warm round of applause for Mikhail, a very strong Grandmaster from Mizzou, and good luck on all of your future matches. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, for week number 3, Joe, what are you thinking? What are your thoughts here?
Well, we've got University of Virginia versus Chicago. So Chicago lost today, unfortunately, but they have a good chance to come back next week. Obviously, Virginia, we saw lose to Mizzou as well last week. So Virginia is going to try to get some points on the board. We have Columbia versus UTRGV. Columbia coming off hot after their win today against Yale. So they'll see if they can carry some momentum against a very strong Texas team. And speaking of Texas teams, we've got UT Dallas playing against Mizzou, so Antipov and his teammates have their work cut out for them next week. But they're 2 for 2, so they're going to see if they can continue that. And lastly, we have the Ivy League Yale team against SLU. That is going to be a really tough matchup, probably the toughest matchup for Yale. But we've got today's show on the books. This was a lot of fun chess. The matches were definitely a lot closer than last week. Are you looking forward to next week's matches, Nemo?
Absolutely. I'm super excited for next week. I'm super excited for the guests that we will have on stream. I'm really excited for it all. I think today was super fun, and huge shout out to Joe for being an awesome co-commentator as always. And huge shout out to the chess.com production team. And of course, a big round of applause to all of the wonderful players that have been putting on this show for us. So thank you so much, everybody, for watching. And one last shout out to our sponsor for this season, SIG. Thank you for watching the Collegiate Chess League presented by SIG here today on chess.com.